Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Sign into the main god space. Invincibility starts from Demon Slayer. Chapter 21. You're right, we are ghosts who only need to ingest human blood to survive. Tamayo said to Lee Zan. But I still crave flesh and blood. Lee Zan replied. Tamayo remained silent and then took off the curtain he had put on for medical treatment. Then he walked to the door of another room and said, "Please come this way." In order not to disturb the sleeping woman, everyone moved the room where the conversation was taking place. Several people were sitting down, except Lee Zan and Nezuko. Lee Zan is not used to sitting upright, so he sits casually. Nezuko, on the other hand, had no intention of talking and was just rolling around and playing. I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Tamayo, and that kid is Yushiro. My name is Lee Zan. I am Kamado Tanjiro, and this is my sister Nezuko. Can you turn ghosts into humans? Miss Tamayo. Lee Zan got straight to the point. Although he understood that Tamayo had researched in this area, he could only ask directly in order to bring up the topic. Hearing the attention-grabbing question, Tanjiro looked at Tamayo nervously, expecting her answer. Why do you ask? Tamayo was a little surprised. Because you are not ordinary ghosts, you are not pure. Yes. Tamayo nodded. After my own transformation, I don't need to eat people and only need to drink a small amount of blood to survive. Yushiro is a ghost created by me and only needs less blood. Quote. And the amount of blood we usually suck is obtained from people through blood transfusions with money. Yushiro is the ghost you created. Tanjiro became a little uneasy after hearing the words he cared about. In his impression, only Kibutsuji can turn people into ghosts. Yes. But I spent 200 years and only Yushiro became a ghost. 200 years. Tanjiro became even more uneasy. Miss Tamayo, how old are you? Yushiro on the side heard what Tanjiro said and stood up with anger on his face and punched him a few times. Don't ask women about their age, you rude guy. You won't have a girlfriend if you say things like this. Lee Zan couldn't help but glance at Tanjiro. Don't use violence, Yushiro. Tamayo scolded. Yes. Yushiro immediately resumed his sitting position. I hope you don't misunderstand me. I don't mean to increase the number of ghosts, but I will only deal with people who are incurable or seriously injured and have no one left to live, and only with my consent, in the case of. There is no smell of lies. As soon as Tanjiro's nose moved, he felt that the person in front of him was worthy of trust. As for whether there is a way to turn ghosts into humans. Tamayo turned his eyes to Lee Zan. Yes. Yes, please tell me. Tanjiro couldn't help but get closer to Miss Tamayo. Don't get close to Tamayo-sama. Yushiro immediately threw Tanjiro over his shoulder. Yushi, so what is the method to turn ghosts into humans? Lee Zan said, ignoring Tanjiro and Yushiro who were playing tricks. I believe that no matter what kind of wound or disease it is, there must be medicine and treatment. Tamayo said firmly. Although there is currently no way to turn ghosts back into humans, there must be a way. So we want to nail down that treatment, and we have something to ask of you for that. In order to make healing medicine, we need to investigate the blood of many ghosts. I have two things to ask of you. One is to ask us to investigate Miss Nezuko's blood, and the other is to collect as much blood as possible from those ghosts whose blood is thicker than Kibutsuji's. Return. Nezuko. Why? Tanjiro asked. Because Miss Nezuko is in an extremely rare and special state now. I heard you said that she has been sleeping for 2 years. I am afraid that her body has changed during that period. Generally speaking, if you haven't eaten human flesh or animal flesh for so long, you will undoubtedly become violent, but what is surprising is that Miss Nezuko does not have that symptom. This miracle I believe will be the key to the future. The second request will be very cruel. The ghosts whose blood is thicker than Kibutsuji, that is, the ghosts who have the power closer to Kibutsuji. It is not a simple matter to steal the blood from those ghosts. Tamayo spoke a lot, with a very serious expression on her face. She understood what her request meant, but both she and Yushiro were ghosts with little fighting power. It was really helpless to do this. Even so, will you agree? Tamayo finally asked. You said Kibutsuji's ghost has thicker blood, is this okay? Lee Zan did not answer the question, but held the sack behind him in front of everyone. Open the bag. A trembling and strange body appeared in front of everyone. What is this? Yushiro stepped back for a moment, his face full of emotion. He could clearly feel the fear coming from the ghost with severed limbs, but the evil and powerful aura emanating from his body still frightened Yushiro. This is bloodline suppression. Even if Yushiro is not a ghost derived from Muzan, he still has a certain connection with Muzan after all. Therefore, Yuhu, who was endowed with too much Wumei blood and was close to Wumei's bloodline, had such oppressive power on him. The same goes for Tamayo, but her performance is not as bad as Yushiro's, and she seems to have had some expectations. Nezuko, who was lying on the ground board, suddenly jumped up and looked at Tamatobo, who had lost all his hands and feet, with a vigilant attitude. Tanjiro, on the other hand, unconsciously put his hand on the Nichiren sword at his waist. Before, I only smelled the ghost, but didn't see the ghost in the sack, so I didn't feel anything. But after seeing it head-on, Tanjiro truly felt how powerful the ghost in front of him was. The evil aura that spreads around like baring teeth and claws, feels like a suffocating pain in the area affected by the aura, making people feel as if they will be killed immediately in the next moment, and their bodies will be dismembered. Incomparably powerful, every part of Tanjiro's body, every cell in his body seemed to be sending out a danger message, and a terrifying tremor could not help but surge into his heart. But now this powerful ghost is like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, showing its pitiful side with all its limbs cut off. He couldn't help but feel a sense of separation between reality and illusion. The reactions of several people outside Tamayo made Lizan realize that Yuhu's strength was still a bit too high for them now. Moreover, Yuhu has always been what he calls the perfect posture, until now, which is why it has such a great impact on others. Are you okay? Lizan asked. It's okay, Tanjiro responded immediately. The other people were silent and did not make a sound. Lizan suddenly slapped Yuhu on the forehead. Take your momentum back. Yuhu, who was lying on the ground, visibly trembled after being slapped by Lizan. The next moment, everyone no longer felt so uncomfortable. Yushiro gave Lizan a meaningful look. Such a powerful ghost was captured alive by him and still feared him so much. How terrifying his strength must be. Winding the fifth string, Jade Pot. Tamayo crossed his fingers in front of him, calmed his turbulent heart, and said slowly. No, Lizan said. I don't know him. I guessed it based on the numbers in his eyes and some previous information about his appearance. Then you don't look so surprised. I vaguely saw the sack moving before, and I guessed it was a ghost captured by Mr. Lizan, but I didn't expect it to be the fifth string of 12 Kazuki. Tamayo responded. What is 12 Kazuki? Tanjiro asked. After that, Tamayo and Yushiro gave him relevant knowledge. So this ghost is terrifyingly powerful, Tanjiro murmured after receiving the science education. Yeah, Tamayo nodded. Then this guy's blood should be fine, Lizan said. Well, the blood from Shangxian is very close to the blood from Kibutsuji, Tamayo said and took out a syringe to draw blood. But when the needle poked Yuhu's skin, it was broken by the scales on the skin. After all, it is scaly skin that is harder than diamond. Even if it is cut like tofu under the sword of the demonized Lizan, it does not mean that the hardness of the scaly skin is not what it is boasted of. Tamayo took out a new syringe and searched for a long time but couldn't find a place to start. Even the eyeballs are so hard, how can I twitch them? Tamayo looked at Lizan for help. In her opinion, anyone who can make Yuhu turn into this kind of person will definitely be able to break open Yuhu's skin and draw his own blood. Are you going to do it yourself or should I do it? Lizan turned his attention to Yuhu. You guy, you are humiliating me. Yuhu, who was lying on the ground with dim eyes, suddenly raised his head and his eyes glowed with rage. Seeing Lamb's fierce reaction, Lizan silently put his hand on the handle of the knife. So Yuhu's eyes dimmed again in an instant, and he lay on the ground, no longer talking, looking resigned to his fate, with blood flowing from his eyes and mouth. Yushiro on the side quickly brought a container and placed it at the mouth of the jade pot to catch the bleeding blood. Is it enough? Lizan couldn't help but ask after seeing that the big basin-like container was full. If it's not enough, you can let him bleed again. There was only a jade pot left on the ground, whose body turned a little pale and almost spat out a mouthful of blood when he heard this. That's enough, Tamayo said. The jade pot on the ground breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. It has been really squeezed dry, not even a drop is left, and if it continues to flow out, you will die. Suddenly, Li Zan made a confused sound. The Sun Lun sword at the waist was pulled out in an instant and then thrown out. The tip of the knife flew towards the wall of the room like thunder. It penetrated the wall and flew out with huge kinetic energy. It seemed to hit something on the way, making a pop explosion sound. Boom. In the end, the Nichiren sword probably hit the stone wall outside, making a violent sound of stone shattering. The people and ghosts in the house were frightened by Li Zan's sudden move. "What's wrong?" Tanjiro asked. "Someone attacked here just now," Li Zan replied. Yushiro had a solemn look on his face. He felt something was wrong with his vampire technique. The blindfold was broken and someone came in. "Go out and have a look," Tamayo suggested. Yuhu, who was lying on the ground, noticed that Li Zan's knife had been thrown out, and his eyes flickered. His weapon was thrown. Yuhu understands how important weapons are to a ghost hunting swordsman. Normal ghost hunters rely on the Nichiren sword to have the ability to kill ghosts. Without the Nichiren sword, one would not be able to use sword skills and would not be able to kill ghosts. "If you dare to move, I will eat you alive." Suddenly, a terrifying voice with a gentle tone came from the side. Yuhu's heart suddenly trembled. I seem to have forgotten that this ghost hunting swordsman is not normal. He did not doubt the authenticity of the ghost hunting swordsman's words. This guy could turn into a ghost, and ghosts eat ghosts. Normally, ghost-eating ghosts require Master Wuhan's consent to eat and absorb them, but this ghost-hunting swordsman can convert humans and ghosts at will, so eating himself alive doesn't seem to be an outrageous thing. So Yuhu gave up his small thoughts and became an autistic ghost again. "If you can survive, never give up your life. I still have to dedicate myself to Lord Wuhan, I can't die so easily. When you meet Lord Wuhan, you, the ghost hunter, will definitely die without a burial place." The captive Yuhu thought firmly. Li Zan picked up the jade pot and stuffed it into the sack again. Then he carried the sack and walked out with Tanjiro and others. As soon as I walked out of the door, there was an unsightly picture outside. On the stone wall not far away, there was a man in monk's robes with a Nichiren sword stuck in his shoulder and hanging on it. A woman next to him with a handball was trying to knock him off the wall. But it seemed to be embedded too deeply, and I couldn't get it out for a while. "Both are ghosts," Tanjiro said immediately. "Which one do you want?" Li Zan asked. "The meaning is obvious, one for each person." Although Li Zan can seriously end the battle with one blow to these two ghosts who are far different from each other in terms of strength, Tanjiro still needs to sharpen his skills, otherwise how can he survive on his own? Tanjiro's current strength is slightly higher than that of the two ghosts on the opposite side, but it is not to the extent of crushing him. Let him choose a one-on-one duel, which is a good experience package. That male ghost. Tanjiro still faced the male ghost as in the plot. Yahaba, the arrowhead ghost dressed as a monk who was stuck on the wall, saw that Li Zan was still in the mood to talk leisurely. He couldn't help but get angry and let the Nichiren sword cut off half of his shoulder. It slid straight down, then healed quickly. This fool. The eyes on Yahaba's face were closed, but the two eyes with arrows in the center of his palms were staring straight at Li Zan. This guy has a scabbard on his waist but no sword. This guy probably threw the Nichiren sword. I have a mysophobia. The dust has made me dirty. Yahaba was mad, and his anger seemed to be gushing out. The female ghost Zu Samaru who was holding a handball next to him also understood that his temporary partner was angry and did not displease him. The one who threw the knife will be left to you. Be careful, don't die. Zu Shawan said with a corner of his mouth. You don't have to worry about it. Yahaba crossed his arms and faced Li Zan, preparing to release the vampire technique. But the next moment, that person suddenly disappeared from sight. He chose you, so you go and fight him. An indifferent voice suddenly appeared next to him. Yahaba was shocked. What followed was heartbreaking pain. Yahaba's entire ghost was kicked away by Li Zan's whip, and all the bones in his body were shattered. Ah! Yahaba suddenly hit the cherry tree in the yard, feeling embarrassed. Then, Li Zan turned his attention to Zu Shawan. You are the one left, so I will fight you. The arrogant expression on Zu Shawan's face subsided and his expression became solemn. This speed just now. He arrived in front of him in an instant without noticing it at all. In the plot, Zu Samaru, who became powerful and proud because of the blood newly given by Muzan, became very cautious at this time. She looked at the calm-looking Li Zan warily, then took a few steps back to distance herself. Then the outer robe was uncovered, and 2 arms grew out from under both sides of the ribs. Together with the original arms, there were a total of 6 arms, all holding a handball. Stand ready. Zhu Samaru was ready. As soon as the opponent makes a move, throw all the balls out, blocking all his moves and causing him significant damage. But even if you stare closely, your concentration is highly concentrated. Zhu Xuan felt the scene in front of him flicker in the next moment, and the person he was staring at had lost his figure. Alarm bells rang in her heart, and her face became grim. Go to hell. Accompanied by the roar, handballs carrying huge power came out. 6 handballs were shot towards 6 general directions around Zhu Xuan's body, causing a flurry of air and a violent roar of wind. Zhu Shamaru didn't know where the opponent would attack him from, so he could only cover the basic attack directions. The 6 handballs shot out quickly did not move in a straight line like ordinary thrown balls, but constantly changed their trajectory in midair, making it difficult to guard against and guessing the direction of the attack. Here, Zhu Xuan found a voice coming from above him in vain. Above, Zhu Xuan just reacted and raised his head, but a hand grabbed his face. Through his fingers, Zhu Xuan saw Li Zan suddenly appearing above him. A huge downward force was transmitted from his hand to Zhu Xuan's face, directly pressing her to the ground, crushing her face and raising a cloud of dust. But in the next moment, the 6 handballs that were still bouncing out of thin air suddenly stopped and fell back at high speed, blocking all directions and slamming towards Li Zan. Oh, Li Zan raised his eyebrows. Not bad, the response is quite fast. He faced 6 handballs that came at the same time without any panic. He casually threw away the sack he had been carrying, his breathing method was running smoothly, and his physical fitness was comprehensively improved. First, he turned his body to avoid one, then used his hands to catch 2 of them with great force, then flicked his elbow to knock one away, causing it to collide with the other one and explode, and finally kicked it away. Let the remaining handball fly out faster than when it came in. At an #%. Zhu Xuan's face, which was smashed to the ground by Li Zan, has not recovered yet, making it difficult to hear what she was mumbling. Suddenly, there was a whoosh sound. A sound broke through the air, and it was the handball that Li Zan had dodged flying towards the back of Li Zan's head, about to hit the unsuspecting Li Zan. Although Zhu Xuan's handball was casually picked up by Li Zan, it does not mean that the power contained in her handball is weak. You know, in the plot, one of her handballs can smash a house to pieces. It's just that Li Zan looks like he has eyes on the back of his head, holding the handball with one hand and blocking it backwards. Boom! The handball carrying huge kinetic energy came into contact with the handball in Li Zan's hand, and the one in his hand was quickly exploded. Then the handball that came from the attack fell into Li Zan's hands, and its momentum caused it to spin and beat. But the 5 fingers always held it tightly, like a 5-finger mountain, unable to escape, and finally stopped firmly in Li Zan's hands. Aside from throwing the ball, is there anything new? Is there anything interesting? Li Zan grabbed 2 handballs and looked at the 6-handed female ghost on the ground who had recovered, and asked with a look of fun on his face. You guy. Zhu Xuan's face was full of rage and ferocious. I am the 12th Kazuki who was appointed by Master Muzan. 6 handballs appeared again on her 6 arms. Li Zan felt that the imprisoned handballs in his hands were trying to break free from his shackles, so he simply crushed 2 handballs. Still throwing the ball. It's boring. Li Zan's face lost its interest. The figure flashed, and when he appeared in front of Zhu Xuan again, there was already a deep blue Nichiren sword in his hand. On the other side of the battlefield, Tanjiro and Yahaba are fighting fiercely. Compared with the original plot, Tanjiro had the help of Yushiru's blood ghost technique and could clearly see the direction of Yahaba's blood ghost technique. In the current battle, there is no help from Yushiro, and Yahaba got stuck in the wall because of being stabbed by Li Zan and kicked in a furious state. Tanjiro's battle is undoubtedly much more difficult. However, Tanjiro's strength has obviously improved a lot compared to the original plot. Therefore, the two go back and forth and are in a fierce battle. Get away. Don't come close to me. Yahaba raised his arms, and the eyes in his palms blinked suddenly. The invisible arrow mark pierced Tanjiro, who was approaching with a knife, and forcibly took him away from Yahaba and flew into the distance. Breath of water, Type 2 water wheel. Tanjiro turned over in midair, and the flowing water formed a water wheel shape, reducing the force of flying backwards, and landed quietly. But the moment he landed, several invisible arrows pierced Tanjiro's body, forcing Tanjiro to go to another place. Fly in the direction. Oh, die quickly, you stinky monkey. Yahaba said disdainfully, wearing a monk's uniform that had become tattered. Now he just wants to kill the other ghost hunter quickly. Whoosh! A harsh sound broke through the air suddenly. What? Yahaba turned around and looked at the source of the sound with the eyes in his hands. But at the next moment, he found that his eyes were filled with a colorful ball. This is Samaru's ball. When he realized it, the ball had already touched the palm of his hand. Puff! This is the sound of objects penetrating flesh. The handball strengthened by Li Zan's kick obliterated Yahaba's entire arm, passed through his chest, and penetrated his body. Cough! The force and impact of the handball was transmitted to other parts of Yahaba's body, causing him to spit out a large mouthful of blood. Although this kind of damage is nothing to the ghost, and it will return to its original state in a second or two, Yahaba still feels angry. He looked towards Li Zan and found that it was him who had kicked the ball, and the resentment in his heart deepened. The ghost who attacked the house with the ball was Samaru, but it was me who was nailed to the wall. Because I chose a different target to fight with, I was the one who kicked him. When I was fighting against this kid, I was the one who was hit by the kick. Anger, hatred. At this time, the negative emotions in Yahaba's heart were erupting like a volcano, and he couldn't stop it. A gloomy black ink-like aura gradually emerged from his body. Tanjiro, who was still fighting against the arrow not far away, suddenly felt something ominous. Oh, Li Zan's eyes moved to Tanjiro and he made a surprised sound. Why did you suddenly evolve? Then, the corners of his mouth curved slightly. Tanjiro is going to be hard to beat. Withdrawing the Nichiren sword, Li Zan ignored Samaru who gradually turned into ashes in fear, picked up the sack containing the jade pot and walked towards Miss Tamayo who was watching the battle. He had no intention of helping Tanjiro. Unless the ghost blaster on the opposite side can explode to the point of flying. Shouldn't lose. Feeling the ghost's breath, Li Zan estimated. He still believes in Tanjiro very much. If he really can't beat him, the most he can do is ask Yushiro to use the vampire technique to open a clairvoyance hanger on him. Or let Mi-Do-Z play together, a mixed doubles match between brother and sister. Mr. Li Zan. Seeing Li Zan come back from the battle, Tamayo looked a little uneasy. Apparently she also felt the change in Yahaba. It's okay, he can handle it. Li Zan gave him a reassuring look. It's so stupid. I got fooled around. Yushiro watched Tanjiro's battle and commented from time to time. Mi-Do-Z beside him could hardly restrain himself and wanted to step forward to help his brother. The situation on the field at this time was that Tanjiro was being rushed up, down, left, and right by dozens of invisible arrows from Yahaba, who had become stronger. He could only use sword skills to alleviate the impact. He was tired of parrying and was at a disadvantage. It seems that I really can't beat it. As soon as Li Zan finished speaking about his confidence in Tanjiro, he felt unconfident thoughts in his heart. The fact that the opponent's arrows are invisible is really hurtful, and Yahaba's ability to control arrows and the number of arrows have greatly improved after becoming stronger. Mr. Li Zan, Yushiro's blood ghost technique can allow Mr. Tanjiro to see the direction of the blood ghost technique released by the ghost. Tamayo said. Her meaning was obvious, she wanted Yushiro to use the vampire technique to help Tanjiro. Wait, Li Zan saw that Tanjiro in the battle was gradually adapting to the rhythm of the opponent's attack, pursuing and predicting the direction of the opponent's arrow. Although it was slow, he was approaching the opponent step by step, closing the distance with the ghost. Tanjiro is making progress. Learn, adapt, and think from the battle. It should be no problem. Li Zan came to a conclusion after looking at it and said with a smile. Although Tanjiro is still at a disadvantage in the duel with the ghost at this time, he has already grasped the rhythm of the battle. The breath of water, the shape of picking up, the flow of life. After a while, as the sound of running water resounded, Tanjiro either dodged, eliminated, or followed the arrow and came to Yahaba and swung that amazing sword. What? Yahaba had an expression of disbelief on his face until his head was chopped off. I have completely absorbed all the power of the blood that Master Muzan just gave me. Why? I haven't completed Lord Muhan's mission yet, nor have I killed that other nasty ghost hunter. Consciousness stopped abruptly. The breath of water stopped. Tanjiro put the Nichiren sword back into its sheath, breathed a sigh of relief, turned around and waved happily to his companions who were watching behind him. Miduzi immediately ran up and hugged his brother. Mr. Tanjiro is a powerful ghost-hunting swordsman. Tamayo praised after witnessing the entire battle. We still need to make progress. Li Zan looked at Tanjiro and said calmly. This is indeed the case in Li Zan's eyes. Now Tanjiro's strength may not even be able to defeat a lower string alone. It's already amazing, Tamayo said. Then, she turned her head and looked at Li Zan, with a vague meaning in her eyes. Mr. Li Zan, I leave it to you to defeat Wuhan. Li Zan's eyes were always so calm. Why do you ask me so much? Because I think Mr. Li Zan is a very powerful swordsman. Tamayo lowered his head slightly. I will try my best. Li Zan responded calmly. Thank you very much, Mr. Li Zan. Li Zan ignored Yushiru's intensely emotional eyes and walked towards Tanjiro with the sack in hand. Master Tamayo, why are you begging him like that? After Li Zan walked away, Yushiro approached Tamayo and said. Because I always feel like he looks like the same person. Looking at Li Zan's back, Tamayo's eyes were a little blurry, as if he was recalling the past. He looks like Mr. Enichi Tsukikuni. Quote. Tamayo-sama, there is nothing similar in character between him and the gentleman you talked about before. Tamayo shook his head slightly. It's not something like personality. But, that sense of loneliness and invincibility from the world. Tanjiro, I'm leaving first. Li Zan said to Tanjiro. Ah, are you leaving? Tanjiro was a little reluctant to leave, and Miduzi also had a look of reluctance. The mission is completed, of course I'm going back. Then I'll come too, Tanjiro said hurriedly. Li Zan flicked Tanjiro's forehead with his finger. You should go and say goodbye to Miss Tamayo first, I still have something to do. Tisk, why does my finger hurt? Okay then, Tanjiro said regretfully. See you next time, Li Zan said and walked out. Standing on the bustling street again, Li Zan closed his eyes. His nose twitched. The sense of smell is released to the maximum extent by the superposition of signatures from Sakanji Ninataki and Tanjiro Kamado. He wanted to search for the smell of Wu Mei, find him, have a long-distance contact with him, and roughly estimate the gap between his current strength and the opponent's strength. Concentrate and gather energy. Tens of thousands of flavors flooded Li Zan's nose, and the different flavors were automatically filtered out. 2 minutes passed. Found it. Li Zan opened his eyes sparkling. The breathing method was running, and his figure instantly disappeared from where he was. The passers-by on the side kept rubbing their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. The smell of blood. It's still an unusual smell of blood. It's not a ghost, nor a human being. Li Zan, who was walking quickly, suddenly smelled a strange smell of blood around Wu Mei. In the alley, from time to time, Li Zan came to a dark alley. Standing by the wall more than 10 meters away was a handsome man in a formal suit. No misery. Li Zan knew very well what Wu Kei looked like as a human male at this time and recognized him. Who are you? Wu Mei, who had his back to Li Zan, suddenly turned around. That pale face showed an extremely gloomy look, as if something unhappy had happened to him. Li Zan didn't respond. His eyes drifted to the 2 corpses beside Wuhan. Something familiar. Li Zan suddenly felt this way. Although the light was dim, Li Zan had already signed up for high visibility in the dark, so he could carefully see the general appearance of the 2 corpses with a focused look. After roughly filtering it in his mind, Li Zan recalled the identities of the 2 corpses. The relationship with myself is quite deep. Those were 2 senior reincarnation players from the 4th team in Zhongzhou. A scholar-like man with handsome features. A muscular man. Wang Luji, a senior member of the 4th team in Zhongzhou, and Wu Qing, the captain. The 2 lay on the ground with dead expressions on their faces. Wang Luji's body was cut into 2 parts, and Wu Qing's body was covered with wolf-like down and stained with bright red blood. It was so unexpected. Li Zan raised his eyebrows, sighing in his heart. At the same time, I couldn't help but sigh in my heart at the bad luck of the seniors, who unexpectedly met Wuhan. Seeing that the other party did not respond, Wu Kuei frowned, but did not act rashly. The knife on the opponent's waist indicates the identity of the opponent's Demon Slayer Corps member. And the experience of being severely injured and even almost dead by Ji Guiwan hundreds of years ago has made Wu Mei become much more cautious, and he has grown a lot, and will not take action easily before he knows the details of the opponent. He can do whatever he can, and he will never take action easily. If he wants to take action, he must let his subordinates take action. Suddenly, Wu Kei felt a familiar aura. It came from the sack that the other party was carrying. Wu Mei's brows almost knitted together. Jade pot. He suddenly called out with a cold face. In an instant, the sack held by Li Zan suddenly twisted violently, and the contents inside were struggling and making passionate and indignant sounds. Master Wuhan, save me. Help me. Shut up. These cold words of restraint were not spoken by Li Zan, but by Wu Kai. The jade pot in the sack suddenly fell silent. For Wu Kai, the only value of the jade pot is that the pots he makes can be sold for money. What do you want to do? Wu Mei asked Li Zan again. But Li Zan still didn't respond, wondering what he was thinking. The next moment, an oppressive aura as rich as ink suddenly burst out from Wu Kei's body, pointed at Li Zan, and crushed him away. In an instant, Li Zan felt like a lonely boat in the vast ocean, swaying and capsized on the sea. Is the gap too big? Even under the heavy momentum, Li Zan's spirit was still so clear, and he devoted himself wholeheartedly to feeling the strength gap between himself and Wu Mei. Ghost transformation. After roughly understanding the gap, Li Zan started the ghost transformation without hesitation. His hair gradually grew longer, and the color in his eyes turned into a rich black, as deep as an abyss, and not even the light could escape. Weird narrow lines as red as blood gradually appeared on his cheeks, like strange patterns painted by rituals. The flesh and blood on his neck turned up, and greedy and evil eyes shot out from it, as if he was spying on everything in the world. An extremely ominous and strange aura spread from the ghostly body of Li Zan, offsetting the aura that was aimed at Wu Mei. Ghost. Wu Kai's tone was surprised and confused. He is a ghost, but he is not under his control. He found that there was no trace of his own blood in the other party's body. You know, even ghosts like Tamayo and Yushiro who have been transformed and are not under Mukai's control still have some traces of Mukai's blood in their bodies. Because no matter what, Wu Kai is the first ghost, and all ghosts are born because of him. But now, Li Zan is completely out of touch with Wu Mei's knowledge. What happened? Wu Shan said he didn't understand. His face felt even colder, as if frost was about to form. I encountered too many unexpected things today. First, there was the ghost hunter wearing Jiguiwan's earrings, and then there were 3 desperate guys who attacked me. One of them could turn into something like a wolf. Species. Another person escaped through unknown methods. Now he actually encountered a ghost who can turn into a ghost and has nothing to do with him. Wu Shan felt that there were too many strange things today. But the next moment, Wu Han's face suddenly showed an excited look. Can you switch between humans and ghosts? His voice was shaking with excitement. As we all know, the biggest natural enemy of ghosts is the sun, and being able to switch between humans and ghosts means that you are no longer afraid of the sun and can bask in the sun to your heart's content. Wu Mei, who calls himself a perfect creature, always feels uncomfortable when he thinks that he can only stay in the darkness forever. This is why he has been obsessed with finding the blue flower of the other side for thousands of years. But now, there was an opportunity before him to bask in the sunshine again. How could he not be excited about this? How could he not be excited? How did you do it? How did you do it? Wu Suan shouted excitedly, eager to get the answer from Li Zan. I won't tell you, a hoarse and strange voice came from Li Zan's mouth. Eat you. Maybe I'll be like you after eating you. The blood vessels on Wu Han's body swelled, his dress burst, and several ferocious whips suddenly appeared from his body. He whipped towards Li Zan at a terrifying speed. The entire narrow alley was included in the attack range by the whip. Completely avoidable. Li Zan didn't want to hide either. The breath of mist, the second type. This is a new sword type he experimented on the way to Kyoto after defeating Yuhu. He activated his breathing method and kept waving the sun blade, and extremely rich mist gathered on the blade. Swinging and slashing again and again, as the number of swings and slashes increased, the mist continued to superimpose and compress on the blade. The moment the fastest whip arrived in front of Li Zan swung the sun blade and slashed at the whip, causing it to collide. Great fog and fierce flames. The concentrated mist exploded in an instant, and the thick mist violently burst out and forced all the whips back. Fog. Before Wu Mei could react, thick fog had already covered the entire alley. No harm. Wu Pei discovered that the thick fog was not harmful in any way. But the next moment, he felt something was wrong. The fog in the entire alley began to burn, very quickly. The temperature suddenly rose, and all the fog instantly turned into soaring and devouring black flames that swept through everything in the alley. The black flames are shocking and breathtaking. He didn't stop until everything in the alley turned into black coal and there was nothing left to burn. Black flame. Li Zan was also a little surprised at this time. The fire flame of the mist he experimented with when he discovered that the breath of mist could be converted into the characteristics of water flames was not black flames, nor did it have the quality of burning everything. It should be the gain brought about by becoming a ghost, Li Zan thinks so. The alley was now full of traces of the fire, with only a few charred humanoid objects left, emitting bursts of unpleasant burning smell. Even Wu Shan was burned into coke. Crack. Wu Kei's charred body suddenly made a shattering sound, and pieces of charcoal skin fell off, revealing the white and tender Wu Kei body inside. Pale as paper, a cold look appeared on his bloodless face. He noticed that the other party seemed a bit difficult to deal with, and he could not kill him easily. Slip away, Li Zan thought. The impact on his hand caused by the collision of the whip and the Nichiren sword just now made Li Zan understand in his heart that even after being transformed into a ghost, he was still no match for Wu Mei, so he planned to run away. Wu Kei seemed to be aware of Li Zan's intention, and suddenly, 2 more whips were drawn at high speed. Ridiculously fast. Even if Li Zan reacted, he only raised the sun blade to block one of the sudden whips, but the other whip could not be avoided and struck Li Zan's left body with huge power. One of Li Zan's arms and the sack containing the jade pot were instantly drawn into blood mist. It exploded and dissipated, turning into a rich smell of blood that floated in the air. What's ridiculous is that the scales harder than diamond under Yu Hu's so-called perfect posture did not play any role in resisting either Li Zan's knife or Wu Mei's whip. What a terrifying speed and power! Li Zan felt the backlash from the sun blade, and couldn't help but admire the power of the Wuhan panel's values. It would be great if I could sign him. He couldn't help but think. The next moment, Li Zan discovered that his severed part had not regenerated. Logically speaking, he was a ghost now, and he was very powerful. His recovery ability should not be so weak. Even a second passed without recovering his broken arm. He felt it carefully and found that there was a different force in his body that was preventing his recovery, but that force was also gradually being consumed by him. In fact, Wu Mei's whip carries his blood. As long as the whip comes into contact with the opponent, the blood can be brought into the opponent's body through the whip. Then according to his will, the blood containing the innocent cells will not turn the target into a ghost, but will destroy all the cells in the opponent's body. Normally, such a whip attack can kill it with just one hit. But Li Zan is a ghost at this moment, and he is a ghost with the same origin as Wu Mei. The ghost cells in his body are different from Wu Mei's cells, and they can even be said to be incompatible. Therefore, the ghost cells in Li Zan's body were competing with the cells in Wu Mei's blood. Although Li Zan's recovery ability was temporarily blocked, Wu Mei's blood was unable to further erode Li Zan's body. There are no miserable, big people. Suddenly, an extremely weak and intermittent voice came from Li Zan's feet. That was the sound of the jade pot. He unexpectedly did not die under the cruel whipping, but only a small piece of his head, with his nose upward and to the left, remained. It's a good thing that his mouth is above his eye socket, otherwise he wouldn't be able to speak now. It's not cold yet, Li Zan said with a slight smile. The sound of whips attacking through the air came again from the front. The whips were more numerous, denser, and their speed and power were stronger. However, Li Zan did not panic. He half raised the Sunloon knife, and thick mist emanated from the blade. Breath of mist. Use the breathing method to the maximum extent and release the mist to the greatest extent. Like a heavy object falling into the water, the fog suddenly exploded, covering everything in sight. The whip penetrated the mist and swung it wildly, but it did not disperse the mist. Instead, it lost its direction in the mist, swinging it randomly, and even several whips collided with each other. Wrong direction. The whips collided under his control, and Wu Mei immediately realized that the fog had the effect of disrupting the direction. He stood there blankly and didn't do much. As time went by, the fog seemed to have no support and gradually dissipated, and where Li Zan originally stood, there was no longer any figure. Madness. Wu Kai spat out a word coldly. Since you chose to capture Jade Pot alive, that's your mistake. You probably didn't know that I can know the location of any ghost. Hee. You can't escape, and you definitely won't do it next time. What makes you run away will eat you, allowing me to bathe in the sun again and become a truly perfect creature. A look of excitement gradually appeared on Wu Mei's face. He did not choose to catch up with Li Zan, because he knew in his heart that it was useless to catch up now. The other party was a very powerful ghost. As the first ghost, Wu Han knew how difficult it was to deal with ghosts, so he would keep all the ghosts in his hands as much as possible, grasping the power of life and death. Wu Shan planned to go back and gather as much strength as possible to think of a plan and ensure that Li Zan would not escape like this time next time. At the same time, Li Zan, who was standing on the eaves of a certain shop, slowly stuffed the sun sword into the scabbard. His other recovered arm lifted the jade pot that had recovered its complete head. His dark eyes, there was something evil in his eyes. Wu Mei probably thinks that he can detect your location at any time, so he will be prepared to approach me again, but I just need a little time, and it will be much easier to let him die by himself. Wu Kuei racked his brains and could not imagine that Li Zan had already known all the information about him and his absolute control over the jade pot. What is even more unexpected is that Li Zan has the ultimate ability of signing in that can greatly improve his strength in a short period of time. Yu Hu looked away, not daring to look at Li Zan. Even Lord Wuhan didn't kill him. He felt that the next ghost life was a bit gloomy. After finishing his transformation into a ghost, Li Zan slowly turned into a human again. He looked at the white fish belly on the horizon and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Sign in. Congratulations on signing up for Jade Pot Making Technology. Jade Pot's pot making technology. Jade Pot's proud pot making technique is close to his morbid art worship. Li Zan lowered the corner of his mouth, tilted his head, and met the eyes of Yu Hu, who was looking sideways at the eaves. Yu Hu shivered and his eyes quickly turned to the other side. Useless, Li Zan said coldly. Hearing the ridicule, Yu Hu shivered again, looking confused, not knowing where he had offended the other party. However, he has completely accepted his fate and is not even the slightest bit angry when the other party scolds him. With the help of the Demon Slayer Core logistics team, Li Zan got on the train back to the headquarters. Li Zan looked at the neat and clean Demon Slayer Core uniforms in the bag beside him and couldn't help but think. It seems like I haven't worn it since I went on a mission this time. Do not move. Li Zan suddenly said something. The jade pot head that Li Zan placed by the window as a display suddenly became quiet and began to be carved into stone. Since all that was left of Yu Hu was his head, Li Zan asked him to keep his head in the same state, otherwise it would be troublesome to carry it in a sack. How nice it is now to be an art stone sculpture and be quiet. In order to make the jade pot look more artistic, Li Zan even got some paint for him. It made his face colorful. Young girls and children passing by will laugh a few times when they see it. Say a few words, sir, this stone sculpture of yours is so ugly. Li Zan just smiled, and although Yu Hu was angry, he did not dare to show it in front of Li Zan and fulfilled his responsibility as a stone sculptor. The scenery on the train journey was extremely moving, and Li Zan also enjoyed feeling the atmosphere of the past. There are few people in this carriage and it is not noisy. It can also be regarded as a VIP seat specially arranged by the logistics team. From time to time, Li Zan closed his eyes and began to meditate, his thoughts flying to nowhere. The time when I went back was the same as when I came in, and it passed without realizing it. After getting off the train, Li Zan followed the escort and soon returned to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. After stepping into the gate, Li Zan first went to visit his lord. Are you back so soon? Ubuyashiki asked in surprise. He still looked weak and relied on the support of the lady next to him to stand up. The time since Li Zan left was only a day and a half, close to 2 days. Ubuyashiki didn't expect that the other party would complete the task so quickly. Li Zan nodded and then talked about the process of the mission. Is this a member of the upper string? After listening to Li Zan's story about the mission, Kagaya Uyashiki was blind, but she still turned her head to where the jade pot was and felt him. There's only one head left, but he's still alive. I didn't kill him with the sun blade. Li Zan said. How's the wind strength? Ubuyashiki asked, being supported by his wife. Li Zan recalled the scene of fighting Yuhu, made a rough estimate, and then said, even Zhu will have a hard time defeating him. What he said was already considered implicit. In his mind, among the 9 pillars, only the rock pillar could surely beat the jade pot, and the other pillars had to be moved back slightly. Even if it's the 5th one, is it so powerful? A worried look appeared on Uyashiki's face. Even the jade pot on the 5th string is so powerful, what about the one above it? The next moment, the Lord's brows opened again and he faced Li Zan. The upper string is very strong, but you captured it alive. What is your strength? Fortunately, you are in the Demon Slayer core camp. Therefore, Ubuyashiki said to Li Zan, you completed the mission very well, and you also captured a Uehara alive, which is an incomparable good deed. You know, this generation of pillars have never touched the upper string. The only thing that is known is that the upper string ghost has killed many pillars in the history of the Demon Slayer core. Very strong. This is a common impression among members of the Demon Slayer core regarding winding. Ubuyashiki really didn't expect that the team member who had just joined the team would capture a top string alive in the first mission. This not only prevented him from harming humans in the future, but also increased the Demon Slayer Corp's understanding of the string. You have met the conditions to become a pillar. Ubuyashiki Kagaya continued. Li Zan was a little surprised. Although he knew that the condition for becoming a pillar was to kill 1 lower string or kill 50 ghosts, and the difficulty of capturing the upper string alive was far greater than the first 2, but according to Li Zan's expectation, he had joined the Demon Slayer Corps not long after all. Even if he made a great contribution this time, the other party would most likely not mention it. But this can be regarded as Li Zan's prediction was wrong. In the view of Uyashiki Kagaya, Li Zan is an extremely powerful Ghost Slayer swordsman. And such a swordsman understood from the recent exchange of letters between Ubuyashiki and Li Zan's master Lintaki Sasa that Li Zan was a person who did not have a clear belief in destroying ghosts. If possible, Ubuyashiki still wants to tie Li Zan to the Demon Slayer Corps as soon as possible, put his heart in the Demon Slayer Corps, enhance his sense of belonging to the Demon Slayer Corps, and clarify his belief in destroying ghosts. Therefore, although Ubuyashiki understood that Li Zan was still relatively young, he still gave him the stepping stone to become a pillar. Taking advantage of the excuse given by Li Zan to catch him alive. Isn't there only 9 pillars? Li Zan asked. Ubuyashiki asked in confusion. Why do you think so? Li Zan immediately understood what he meant. There were not necessarily only 9 pillars, it was just that the others did not meet the conditions. It's nothing, Li Zan replied. So what's on your mind? Ubuyashiki Kagaya asks for advice on making Li Zan a pillar. It doesn't matter. For Li Zan, it doesn't matter whether he becomes a pillar or not. Although it is obviously much easier to become a pillar, there is no need to be inherently inferior in status when communicating with other pillars for sign-in. If I became a pillar, wouldn't I be able to call Tanjiro at will? Suddenly, Li Zan found the benefits of becoming a pillar. I will announce this at the next Hashira meeting. Kagaya leaned forward slightly, as if to express respect. To be honest, Ubuyashiki Kagaya didn't really want to push someone with no belief in destroying ghosts to the position of Hashira, but Li Zan's strength is really too important. After understanding Shengxian's strength, he believed that Li Zan was indispensable. Combat strength. Now it is no longer that Li Zan cannot live without the Demon Slayer Corps, but that the Demon Slayer Corps cannot live without Li Zan. Yes, Li Zan nodded and said goodbye to the master. After that, I will arrange for people to study the winding string that you captured alive. I hope you will not refuse. Uyashiki Kagaya finally said sincerely. Okay, Li Zan responded. Li Zan returned to the room he borrowed from Xingqiulang's house again and placed his belongings. There seems to be no use in bringing these things along this way. I won't bring them next time. Li Zan thought. especially that Demon Slayer Corps uniform. After staying in the room for a long time, Li Zan still didn't see the arrival of Purgatory Xingqiu Lang. Normally, with Xingjiro's character, he would have rushed over to say hello after hearing the news that his friend was back, not to mention that the two of them had already agreed to try their best to fight against each other when they met again. Committed. Where is Mr. Purgatory? Li Zan asked the servant at home. Mr. Purgatory has gone on a mission. He received this response from the servant. Have you gone to do your mission? Li Zan muttered in a low voice. No wonder I didn't come to say hello. That's fine, there's no need to argue with him. But normally, the headquarters will arrange at least one pillar here to protect the Lord's safety. Since Purgatory is going on a mission, there should be other pillars to replace it. Do you want to go find that pillar and sign in? Li Zan suddenly thought. Forget it, it's too troublesome, let's practice the breath of mist first. He thought it was troublesome and gave up, and instead focused on the sword skills of breath of mist. Therefore, Li Zan has been practicing his original breathing method in the hospital these days. Until one day, a woman dressed in feathers stood by the house and smiled while looking at Li Zan, who was experimenting with a new sword type. Moxie, is this Mr. Li Zan? Li Zan stopped waving the sun blade, kept his breathing in a constant state, and shifted his gaze to the person coming. She has short black hair and the ends of her bangs are a mysterious purple color. A pair of purple pupils seem to be filled with a kind smile, which complements the beautiful face, revealing the gentle image of Yamato Nadeshiko. She wears a mint-colored kocho hair accessory behind her hair, with kochu's pattern embroidered on the feather fabric. Under the feather fabric is a neatly dressed Demon Slayer Corps uniform. Seeing the appearance and clothing of the visitor, her identity immediately came to mind. Insect Pillar Kocho Shinobu. Compared with animation and comics, real people are obviously much better looking. Li Zan couldn't help but admire Kocho Shinobu's graceful figure and beautiful face. The most important thing is the superposition of gentle temperament, which creates many close hearts. Is there a problem? After realizing that Chongzu was the candidate to replace Yenju at the headquarters, Li Zan thought to himself while asking. If you're a woman, it's not easy to sign in. In Li Zan's view, signing in for a female pillar is obviously more troublesome than for a male pillar. After all, it is more difficult to touch a girl than a boy. Let's continue to sign in Yuhu. My name is Kocho Shinobu. Your lord asked me to come and see the ghost you captured alive. Kocho Shinobu smiled slightly. Before coming, Uyashiki Kagaya specially asked her many things, one of which was to try to treat Li Zan as someone in the same position and be polite. Li Zan suddenly remembered that Kocho Shinobu was also a doctor, and he also studied things related to ghosts on weekdays. For example, her power cannot cut off the head of a ghost, so she extracts toxins that are fatal to ghosts from plants such as wisteria, which are feared by ghosts, and applies them to the blade. In fact, she had already transformed her physique into a wisteria flower body for killing her sister, Shang Xian, and planned to die with him if she couldn't defeat him in the future. But because her body absorbed too much juice from the wisteria flowers, she didn't have much life left to live. Okay, Li Zan responded and led Kocho Shinobu to the main room. Where's the ghost? Where is it? Kocho Shinobu looked left and right but couldn't see the ghost. Li Zan pointed to the colorful jade pot head with eyes closed and silent, planted in a potted plant, and said, "Where is it?" Kocho Shinobu followed the position he pointed at, and when he saw the appearance of Yuhu at this time, his calm and gentle face couldn't help but twitch. She sensed the breath a little. As expected, he is a living ghost, and according to the Lord, he is a member of the powerful Shangxian. But being treated like this. I will take him away first, Mr. Li Zan. Kocho Shinobu said politely. Hearing this, Li Zan frowned. Can't we just study it here? Forgive me, the research equipment is only available at Kochu's house. Kocho Shinobu heard the displeasure in Li Zan's words and explained. You can take him away, but I need to follow him. Li Zan said. Why, Mr. Li Zan? Because if I'm not with this guy, he's going to run away. I won't let him run away, don't worry, Mr. Li Zan. Kocho Shinobu said with a gentle smile. No, he will run away. Li Zan did not change his opinion because of Kocho Shinobu's promise. I am Hashira, Mr. Li Zan. Kocho Shinobu put his hand on the Nichiren sword on his waist, showing that he was very strong. Zu can't do it either. Li Zan was unmoved and said calmly. Kocho Shinobu's strength is not very strong among 9 pillars. Moreover, Yuhu can be said to be a ghost that is extremely incompatible with her. If she were to face Yuhu, with her weak strength, she would never be able to break through the defense of Yuhu with tough scales. After hearing Li Zan's words, the smile on Kocho Shinobu's face gradually faded. Kocho Shinobu has a blank expression whenever he's angry, and that was the case right now. As a member of the Pillars, she naturally has her confidence and pride, but at this moment, Li Zan's words and actions seemed to question her. The woman Kocho Shinobu is not a tolerant and generous person. Then do you want to try it, Mr. Li Zan? So, she said some provocative words. Although Li Zan captured Shang Xian alive, none of these Zhu had ever seen Shang Xian, so naturally they could not understand the meaning of the words, capture Shang Xian alive. And Li Zan would not brag about the power of Shang Xian, so as to show his strength from the side. So even though Kocho Shinobu knew that the upper string was powerful, he still felt that he could not lose. It doesn't have to be so troublesome. Li Zan walked to the potted plant, suddenly took out the jade pot head from the potted plant, and threw it towards Kocho Shinobu. Try to chop it with your greatest strength. His sudden behavior caught Kocho Shinobu by surprise, but he still instinctively drew out the Nichiren sword. Shinobu's Nichiren sword has a 4-leaf blade, a green handle, a slender blade, and a barb at the tip of the blade. This is a special Nichiren sword made just for her. In order to prove his strength, Ren took action. The insect's breath circulates, and the tip of the knife suddenly strikes out and stabs. The dance of butterflies is really beautiful. This is a sudden stabbing move. Although the power of Kocho Shinobu's sword swing is weak, the force of the thrust is very strong, and its speed is faster than the water-breathing 7-type Shizuku's ripple thrust. Chang! But when the tip of the knife touched the scales on Yuhu's face, it made a sound of gold and iron. The force transmitted by the tip of the knife knocked Yuhu's head away and hit the wall. There were only some white spots on the scales where Yutsubo was stabbed, and Shinobu's attack did not break his defense at all. Do you understand? Li Zan walked over and picked up Yuhu's head and said slowly, don't look at him looking like a dead ghost now. In fact, he can recover his entire body in an instant. If he stays away from me, even if he is a little weak, no one can stop him from escaping. Quote. The only option is to let Mr. Li Zan come with us. The Kocho house also has vacancies. Only then did Kocho Shinobu realize that she alone could not stop this ghost from escaping. Even the defense can't be broken, and the poison that is his biggest specialty can't enter the opponent's body. How can he play if Chun Chun is restrained? For Li Zan, it doesn't matter where he lives, there is no difference. As long as you can sign in. Yes, maybe letting Yuhu run away is only secondary. The important thing is that if you don't have Yuhu next to you, you won't be able to sign. But if you go to Kochuya, you might have a chance to sign into the insect pillar. Li Zan took a few things and went to her residence with Kocho Shinobu, which was called Kocho House. In fact, the Kocho House is not so much a residence as it is a logistics organization of the Demon Slayer Corps, a medical institution managed by Kocho Shinobu, which specializes in providing treatment and rehabilitation for injured team members. Most of the caregivers in Kochu's house are members of the Demon Slayer Corps who have no swordsmanship skills. The appearance of Kocho House is not inferior to that of the headquarters. After entering the door of Kocho House, a girl with twin tails wearing Kocho hair accessories came out and bowed to Kocho Shinobu. Lord Shinobu, you are back. I'm back. Kocho Shinobu smiled and replied, this is Li Zan from the Demon Slayer Corps. He will live here these days. Arrange a room for him. Okay, Shinobu-sama. The girl with twin tails nodded respectfully, and then said to Li Zan, hello, my name is Kanzaki Aoi, please follow me. Then Kocho Shinobu took the jade pot and went to study it, while Kanzaki Aoi led Li Zan to an empty room. You can tell me if you need anything. After saying this, Kanzaki Aoi left in a hurry. There must be some patients who needed care. However, not long after Li Zan stayed, Kocho Shinobu hurried over. Can't get blood. The moment Kocho Shinobu opened the door, Li Zan's voice came first. Kocho Shinobu looked stunned for a moment, then nodded, his skin is too hard and his eyes won't open. Just tell him, Li Zan asked you to vomit some blood for me. Is this okay? Kocho Shinobu was a little skeptical. Okay. Li Zan's attitude was firm, and Kocho Shinobu could only leave with hesitation. Returning to the place where Yutsubo's head was placed, Kocho Shinobu spoke the original words. Unexpectedly, the winding ghost's head obeyed and started to bleed from the eye sockets and mouth. I can't help but feel strange. Who is that Li Zan? What makes ghosts so afraid of him? The breath of mist, the shape of picking up, the foggy sky brings scorching rain. Li Zan swung the sun blade in his hand towards the sky, and a mist invaded and spread into the sky to form a cloud-like mist. He slashed again, and a mist transformed into water characteristics merged into the mist. Suddenly, it began to rain heavily in the yard. Slashing again, a mist transformed into fire characteristics merged into the mist. However, after the mist with the characteristic of fire merged into the mist suddenly dissipated. Did you fail? Li Zan murmured to himself. It seemed that it could only be used as a rainfall skill. Although it is very spectacular and compelling, I still don't understand the meaning of your studying these sword skills. Kocho Shinobu appeared in the courtyard room and made a confused sound. Obviously, she had seen the scene just now. For more than a month, Li Zan has been testing these things in the hospital. In the process of studying the jade pot, Kocho Shinobu gradually became familiar with Li Zan. That's why Kocho Shinobu spoke to Li Zan in this tone. In Kocho Shinobu's understanding, sword skills are all to set off the Nichiren sword slashing, and the purpose is to cut off the head of the ghost. Although some sword types of Kasumi's breath will be accompanied by the appearance of mist, it is ultimately to conceal the sudden slash. But Li Zan's slashes seemed to go in the opposite direction, and it was often not the Nichiren sword slashes that caused the final damage. It's something else, and the Nichiren sword seems to be like a medium. This is the case with Li Zan's self-created breath of mist type 2, Great Mist Flame Pillar. This makes Kocho Shinobu a little puzzled. For ghosts, the slashing of the Nichiren sword with the characteristics of sunlight is fatal. Isn't it putting the cart before the horse to study these sword types that only do pure damage and give up cutting? The recovery ability of ghosts is well known. Even if it is broken into hundreds of pieces, it can be restored together. Without the slashing of the Nichiren sword, all damage is meaningless. Well, how should I put it, maybe I just like it. Li Zan responded holding his chin. For Kocho Shinobu, ghosts are the biggest enemies, and everything should be based on killing ghosts. But for Li Zan, who is in the main god space, ghosts are not the only enemy, so he will not set the purpose of creating the sword shape just to kill ghosts. No matter how the demon slayer's sword type is, it still has the sword type of water breath and fire breath, so it doesn't matter to him at all. In fact, there is no problem if Li Zan doesn't create any sword shapes. After all, the focus of improving his strength is still on the ability of signing in. If it is weak, just by signing in, his strength will almost rise. Creating sword shapes is just a matter of interest and for my own happiness. Li Zan, why did you join the Demon Slayer Corps? Suddenly, Kocho Shinobu asked. Why do you ask this? Li Zan looked at her doubtfully. Curious, Kocho Shinobu said. Li Zan didn't know how to respond for a while. The reason for joining the Demon Slayer Corps. Can it be said to be the mission of the Lord God? You know, Li Zan, every time I see or study that winding ghost, I feel extremely resentful in my heart. I hate these man-eating ghosts and will never forgive them, and most of them this is true for all members of the Demon Slayer Corps. Some of them are for revenge, some are for protecting others, but they all have a clear belief in killing demons. Seeing that Li Zan did not respond, Kocho Shinobu said expressionlessly. But you are different. In the process of studying ghosts, I can't feel your negative feelings towards ghosts at all. You are powerful. If you are envious of money and power, you should be able to easily obtain it with your ability. So, why, Li Zan, why did you join the Demon Slayer Corps? Every word she speaks is sonorous and powerful, and every sentence contains deep feelings. Li Zan was thinking, while Kocho Shinobu stood there quietly looking at him, waiting for his answer. Li Zan knew that Kocho Shinobu's parents were killed by ghosts when they were children. His only surviving relative, his sister, was also killed by Doma, the second string of the sword, a few years ago, and she has an irresolvable grudge with ghosts. Kocho Shinobu, who was once serious and unsmiling, changed his temperament drastically. He learned the speech, behavior and character of his sister Kocho Kanae, and suddenly became mature. Making up a false reason to answer. Joining the Demon Slayer Corps because of Tanjiro and Rintaki-sensei. No, Lee Zan rejected these ideas at once. Precisely because he knew Kocho Shinobu's past, Lee Zan did not want to use these reasons that went against his heart to prevaricate the man in front of him. So what is your most sincere reason? Because it's interesting. Lee Zan looked directly into Kocho Shinobu's purple eyes and responded. This is Lee Zan's deepest thought. Whether it is the mission of the main god, the convenience of signing in, or the responsibilities of a human being, these are all insignificant things. Interesting. That's my truest answer. Is it interesting? This answer obviously shaken Kocho Shinobu, making her temporarily absent-minded. Is there anything else you want to ask? Lee Zan's smile at this time was warm and gentle, but for some reason it made people feel inexplicably depressed. Kocho Shinobu shook his head and said he had nothing to say. Then she walked out of the house and left. Kocho Shinobu walked directly to his lord and sat down. Ahem, what did he say? Ubuyashiki asked, coughing, with a gentle smile on his face. Ren repeated the entire conversation with Lee Zan. After finishing speaking, she lowered her head slightly and said, he is a person without faith. Yes, I know. Ubuyashiki still had that gentle smile. Is he really suitable for the Demon Slayer Corps? Shinobu's face was face down, making it impossible to see his expression. It's more suitable than you think. Ubuyashiki said, it doesn't have to be as complicated as you think, Ren, it's not an unreasonable thing. I know, I just don't know why, I feel uncomfortable. When God bestows talent and strength on a person, he does not necessarily give that person a mission. All we need to do is try to get their help to accomplish our goals. Uyashiki Kagaya said calmly. Kocho Shinobu took a deep breath and looked hesitant. After a few seconds, he seemed to have made up his mind and said to his lord with a firm face, in the past month or so, when I studied the Winding Ghost, the ghost always muttered, Lee Zan, it's a ghost, although the ghost's words cannot. Ubuyashiki looked surprised and interrupted Kocho Shinobu's words, what a coincidence, one person said the same thing. He waved to the side, and then, a petite woman walked out from the darkness of the main room. That was Luo Yaya, a veteran of the Jongjo 4th team whom Lee Zan had met before. This is a child who joined the Demon Slayer Corps not long ago. Ubuyashiki introduced. She was joined by 2 other people. The 3 of them formed a team to perform the mission. They are not weak in strength. Kocho Shinobu moved his eyes to Luo Yaya and looked at her, but saw that she was in a trance, a little absent-minded, as if she had suffered a lot of stimulation. Then more than a month ago, her team encountered Wuhan while performing a mission in Kyoto, and she was the only one to escape. Listening to his lord's words, Kocho Shinobu immediately understood why this girl was behaving like this. It was obvious that the death of her teammates had a great impact on her, and she couldn't help but feel sympathy, and her hatred of ghosts could not help but deepen. Whenever she sees people who have been harmed and tortured by ghosts, she can't help but feel angry and resentful. Then she gave me this and said to me, Lee Zan of the Demon Slayer Corps is a ghost. The proof is in it. Ubuyashiki Kagaya took out a small, square box. If there are modern people around, they will definitely be able to recognize what that small box is. It was a touch-screen phone. What is this? Kocho Shinobu asked, confused. I don't quite understand either. Uyashiki handed the phone to Luo Yaya and motioned for her to operate it. This thing seems to have a recording function. She showed me the recorded images. Of course, Ubuyashiki was blind and could not see the video, so his wife did it for him and dictated it. Luo Yaya took the phone in silence and operated it mechanically. Suddenly, a video was played. The viewing angle of the picture is a bit low, but it is very clear. Standing near the picture is a man wearing a white hat and a suit with his back turned, and standing far away is Lee Zan carrying a sack. If Lee Zan were here, he would definitely be able to clearly identify the source of the video as the recording electronic equipment on the 2 dead seniors. Who are you? A gloomy voice came from the mobile phone. When Luo Yaya heard this voice, she felt as if she was struck by lightning. Her face became extremely frightened, her body trembled and curled up, and she kept retreating. It was probably because she had a deep psychological shadow on Wushan. Let her rest. Uyashiki ordered his wife to take Luo Yaya to rest. Jade Pot. The video continues to play. Kocho Shinobu's eyes were fixed on the screen of his mobile phone. Ghost transformation. Seeing Li Zan's strange changes on the screen, Kocho Shinobu couldn't help but widen his eyes. This, Lord, Kocho Shinobu screamed. Li Zan is really a ghost. It's not fun to study sword types that only have damage. What I should have thought of is that it is useless to ghosts, but it is the most hurtful thing to people. Joining the Demon Slayer Corps wasn't because he said it was fun, but because it had some inexplicable purpose. She was horrified, and all kinds of thoughts came to her mind. She really didn't expect that the person she had been with for more than a month was actually a ghost. At this moment, she just wants to return to the Kocho house and ensure the safety of the people in the butterfly house. Keep watching. Uyashiki's voice was calm. Only. Keep watching, Shinobi. Uyashiki Kagaya repeated the words. Yes, Kocho Shinobu had no choice but to sit down again. Can you switch between humans and ghosts? Muzan's excited voice came from the mobile phone, and Kocho Shinobu's expression changed as a result. Can you switch between humans and ghosts? Doesn't this mean that sunlight is no longer the only weakness? Eat you. If I eat you, maybe I will be like you. Wu Kei made a crazy voice and attacked Li Zan. The breath of mist, type 2 large mist flame. Li Zan's voice was hoarse and low, completely different from usual. Kocho Shinobu saw him practicing this sword type, but the power during practice was obviously restrained. At this moment, only thick fog can be seen on the mobile phone screen. The next moment, black flames scorched and the scene came to an abrupt end. Kocho Shinobu looked at the triangular pause button on the screen in silence. Any ideas, Shinobu? Ubuyashiki said calmly. He and Muzan don't seem to be on the same lineup. Kocho Shinobu expressed his opinion. Yes, Uyashiki nodded. Muhan's enemy is our friend. But, he is a ghost. You should have seen that Li Zan can transform between humans and ghosts. He is both a human and a ghost. As long as he doesn't eat humans, we should accept him. But, Kocho Shinobu couldn't accept it for a while and wanted to refute it. He has great strength and talent, and he has abilities that Wuhan dreams of. For him, Wuhan will do whatever it takes, so we need him. Ubuyashiki interrupted her again. I respect your thoughts, my lord. Kocho Shinobu could only nod. Don't worry, his breeder, Mr. Sakanji, has been with him for several years and has never smelled human blood in his place. I believe he will not eat people. Uyashiki Kagaya comforted Kocho Shinobu. But Kocho Shinobu has always been unable to let go. She hates ghosts, all her loved ones died because of ghosts, and she has seen too many people suffering from ghosts. Even though my sister insisted on the idea that people and ghosts can live in harmony, until her death, I also plan to adhere to my sister's prayer. But, that's why I feel strange that Miss Kocho Shinobu suddenly asked me those questions. A figure suddenly walked in outside the main room. The visitor's sleeves were loose but not sloppy at the same time, and his cold eyes were hidden under the messy bangs. Li Zan. Kocho Shinobu couldn't help but put his hand on the Nichiren sword. Even if we have been together for more than a month, you are still so wary of me. Li Zan walked slowly into the main room and sat down slowly. Mobile phone. He was a little surprised when he saw the utensils on the ground. Li Zan only heard their conversation midway, so naturally he didn't know much about it. He just knew that the fact that he could become a ghost was known. You heard it, Kagaya said with a smile. She didn't seem to have any grudges about knowing that Li Zan can turn into a ghost. His attitude towards Li Zan remained the same. I was going to ask you about something, but I happened to overhear it on the way. Li Zan responded. Ah, what do you want to ask? Where is Mr. Purgatory? He hasn't come back after so long. Li Zan said. He missed the infernal Anjiro who could fight with him. After all, he would enthusiastically accept his request and allow him to test the sword form without dying. Among the creatures he knows, perhaps Anjiro is the one. Of course, a jade pot would also work. But Yuhu has to be used as an experimental subject, so there is no other way. Moreover, Li Zan doesn't have the strength to crush Yuhu without turning into a ghost. What if he tries and thinks he can do it? He has to turn into a ghost and chop him until his hands are sore. Anjiro should be back soon. Ah, just wait a little longer. After Li Zan finished speaking, he stood up and was about to leave. Wait, Kocho Shinobu, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke. Chapter 31. Kocho Shinobu's voice stopped Li Zan from stepping out. Li Zan was confused. Have you ever eaten anyone? Kocho Shinobu lowered his head and spoke in a low voice. Why do you want to eat people? Li Zan always said in a gentle tone, if I become a ghost, I will not want to eat people, and I have never eaten people. To me, ghost transformation is just an ability to enhance strength, just like a swordsman using the breathing method. There is no similarity or difference. Are you satisfied with this explanation? Therefore, Li Zan doesn't want to expose his ability to become a ghost in the human camp, which is quite troublesome. I believe you for the time being. Kocho Shinobu no longer lowered his head, and his palms no longer rested on the Nichiren sword, and returned to the usual gentle Kocho Shinobu. She smiled at Li Zan, but the smile seemed a bit stiff to Li Zan. No matter how similar everything is to imitating her sister Kocho Kanae, Kocho Shinobu is still Kocho Shinobu, and Kocho Kanae is still Kocho Kanae. At this time, Mrs. Uyashiki, who had finished comforting Luo Yaya, came over, leaned down and dictated some words in Uyashiki Kagaya's ear. Oh, Kagaya said in surprise. After a while, he looked at Li Zan and Kocho Shinobu and said, there are Demon Slayer Corps members who encountered a powerful ghost in Nada Spider Mountain, maybe it was 12 Kazuki. They are in urgent need of support. Can you please help? Yes, Kocho Shinobu nodded in response. Okay. Li Zan realized that this was the plot of Tanjiro's encounter with Wulei in Spider Mountain, and agreed. After all, the plot originally had two pillars, Tomioka Gyu and Kocho Shinobu, go to the rescue, but because of the Kocho effect he brought, only himself and Kocho Shinobu are now there. If he does not agree and only lets Kocho Shinobu go alone, Tanjiro, I am afraid that there is a possibility of death. It's just, my lord, your safety. Kocho Shinobu asked worriedly. Gyu is near the headquarters, don't worry, Ubuyashiki said. When the two of them walked out of the main room, Li Zan said, I'll bring the jade pot over first. In order to prevent the jade pot from getting out of control, he felt that the jade pot had become a necessary household prop when he went out. Yeah, Kocho Shinobu nodded. Li Zan's figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. A few seconds later, Li Zan returned to Kocho Shinobu with a bag slung around his waist, which contained a very peaceful jade pot. The two of them traveled lightly and brought almost nothing extra. Li Zan didn't even change into his team uniform, and only the sun sword around his waist could identify him. The location of Nation Spider Mountain is not far from here, nor is it close. The traffic there is also a bit inconvenient. Moreover, the situation is urgent now, so the two of them can only use the breathing method to hurry. After all, the strength of the two is at the pillar. The speed of people of this level is no worse than that of trains. Let's go. As soon as the voice fell, a gust of wind blew up. Li Zan and Kocho Shinobu disappeared at the same time. The breath of the beast. Three fangs and fangs tearing apart. Hashibira Inosuke, a boy wearing a boar hood, crossed his hands in midair and swung the two Nichiren swords, which made many holes in his hands and became extremely ferocious, and slashed at the back of the head of the huge black monster. Jung. The sun blade snapped in response. Broken. Inosuke showed an expression of disbelief under his boar hood. Can't cut it open. Boom. The powerful black monster with a spider-like face turned and smashed at Hashibira Inosuke, knocking him away and slamming him into a thick tree. Ahem. Inosuke couldn't help coughing in pain, and the pain and numbness all over his body was like maggots attached to his bones, making him unbearable and unable to move. Oops, I couldn't change my breathing into a fighting posture. He was muttering, but his head was grabbed by a thick arm. Don't come near my family. The monster seemed to have lost its mind and was murmuring crazily. This monster is the family created by Sha Xian Wulei for the sake of false family ties. Play the role of Dad. Inosuke felt like his head was about to burst. He was in great pain and his body gradually became stiff. Memories flooded his mind that he had never thought of before. I can't die. The powerful obsession made Hashibira Inosuke lift up two broken Nichiren swords and plunge them into the monster's neck. The broken knife penetrated the monster's neck, but got stuck inside, causing no harm to it. How come? Inosuke looked at the stuck broken knife in despair. The force coming from his head became stronger and stronger, and Inosuke felt like he was about to lose consciousness. You have a good will, and you can really persevere. Inosuke didn't know if he was hallucinating. He saw a person squatting on the monster's thick arm that was holding his head, talking to him with a smile. He wanted to respond, but couldn't. His throat was so tight that he almost burst. Don't come near my family. Inosuke saw the monster suddenly go crazy, and grabbed the person who suddenly appeared with his other arm. Isn't it an illusion? He realized. The next moment, Inosuke felt a flash of blue sword light in front of his eyes. His head felt light and his whole body fell down. Looking through the wild boar hood again, the monster's hands had been cut off completely and were flying in the air. Inosuke saw the man who suddenly appeared standing on the ground holding a deep blue Nichiren sword in his hand. Did he cut it off? I obviously couldn't even cut open the skin just now. The pig-headed boy realized the gap between himself and the other party. No, no, come close to my family. The injury made the monster lose its mind even more. The broken arm grew out in an instant and grabbed the man again. Careful, Inosuke wanted to remind him but was unable to do so. The breath of water, the type of one water cutting. A calm voice rang out, and the water flowed away in an instant. The sound of drawing the sword was drowned in the roar of the monster, but the sound of sheathing was heard in the silent night. The tall ghost stopped moving and shouting. His spider-like head slowly slid down from the smooth section and hit the ground with a violent sound. Afterwards, the ghost's body and severed head gradually dissipated like the blazing sun and spring snow. So strong, this is the first time I've seen such a strong person. Inosuke looked at the handsome figure in front of him blankly, unable to say a word. Isn't he dead? The powerful man Lizan leaned down and asked Hashibira Inosuke, one of the 3 strongest demon slayers in Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. How could he be dead? You're such a strong guy. The boy wearing a wild boar hood jumped up from the ground and shouted energetically. You are indeed full of energy. Lizan couldn't help but smile at Inosuke. He has no dislike for energetic and innocent children. Hey, you, a very strong guy, fight with me. After I beat you, I will be the strongest. The pig-headed boy was obviously covered in wounds, but he challenged Lizan with full energy. Aren't you stupid? Lizan's figure flashed and suddenly appeared next to Inosuke. So fast. Inosuke was shocked. The injured should rest well. Lizan's palm turned into a knife and pressed on the back of Inosuke's neck. Suddenly, Inosuke felt a huge force coming from the back of his neck, his consciousness gradually became blurred, and he slowly fell down. It won't be good if anything happens if you leave it here. Let's take it to Kocho Shinobu for a look. Lizan picked up the unconscious Inosuke and put it on his waist. Lizan stood by the river and murmured, "Where is Tanjiro?" He thought about Tanjiro's smell for a moment in his mind, his nose twitched, and his sensitive sense of smell was triggered. The breath of tens of thousands of creatures in the entire mountain seemed to flow into Lizan's nose in an instant. The smell of ghosts that I have never smelled, the smell of people that I have never smelled, the smell of small animals, the smell of Kocho Shinobu, the smell of Mizuko, and the smell of Tanjiro. Found it. It doesn't seem like the situation is right. Lizan felt that there was something wrong with Tanjiro's aura, a little weak. It seems that even though the strength is much stronger than in the plot, it still can't beat the exhaustion of the 5th part. His breathing became heavier. Full concentration. Lizan's figure gradually became illusory and disappeared from the spot. Breath of water, 3 forms flowing dance. Tanjiro waved the Nichiren sword, bringing up a stream of water, and approached the ghost in the distance with clever steps. The ghostly white hair and skin, the eye frames are full of bright red, white pupils and black eyes, there are a few red dots connected with red on the cheeks, the body shape of a child, with the word, Sha Wu, engraved in the eyes. This is the 5th fatigue of Shishan. Several white spider silk threads bloomed in Lei's hands and struck at Tanjiro. Tanjiro relied on his steps to avoid the cuts of the threads. The threads that could not be avoided were cut off by his slashes with his steps. It is obviously much better than the situation in the original plot where the thread could not be cut and the knife was broken in an instant. Tisk. Lei curled his lips, his hands turned bright red, blood flowed down and poured into the blooming threads, and the white threads suddenly turned red. Tanjiro's Nichiren's sword struck the silk thread that turned bright red, but suddenly made a gap. The knife was penetrated, it kept cutting. The thread is so hard. He leaned down in an instant, narrowly avoiding the sweep of the silk thread, but the sun blade also broke in response. It's broken. Tanjiro looked surprised. What to do? Tanjiro stepped back and stood in front of Miduzi, who was accidentally cut by the thread just now. The Nichiren sword is an extremely important weapon for ghost killers. If the Nichiren sword is disconnected, it means that the combat effectiveness will be greatly affected. The flow dance consumes a lot of physical strength. Tanjiro originally wanted to approach the ghost at high speed so that his thread would have no room to release, but he failed and the Nichiren sword was cut off instead. The uniforms of Haori and the Demon Slayer Corps on him have been cut to tatters by silk threads, and his physical strength has gradually reached its lowest point. Think. Tanjiro held the broken knife in his hand and kept thinking, looking for a way to break the situation. Find a way quickly. Let your sister be my sister. Lei suddenly extended his arm to Tanjiro. Impossible. Tanjiro responded excitedly. Then go to hell, Lei said coldly. He stretched out his fingers, like a spider, and suddenly many red threads shot out from his fingers at high speed, attacking Tanjiro and Miduzi. The countless silk threads were woven into a large net in midair to cover Tanjiro and Miduzi. Once covered, they would definitely be cut into pieces of fine flesh and blood. Vampire technique Kesselao. Are you going to die? Tanjiro suddenly panicked. The Nichiren sword was in good condition and could not cut through these red threads, let alone the broken Nichiren sword. I'm going to die. Unable to help, all the past memories flashed in Tanjiro's mind like a slideshow. It's a revolving door. Father. Memories of his father surfaced in Tanjiro's mind. On a snowy day, my father dressed in sacrificial clothes danced to offer sacrifices to Lord Vulcan. Our family is engaged in fire work. In order to prevent injuries and disasters, we perform dances and pray for the god of fire at the beginning of the year. A conversation with my mother emerges. There is a way to breathe, and there is a way to breathe that will not tire you out no matter how much you move. A conversation with my father lying on the mattress emerges. These memories have obviously been forgotten. Breathe, Tanjiro. My father's heavy voice sounded in my mind again. Kagura, god of fire. The operation of Tanjiro's water breathing suddenly stopped and turned into the breathing method taught by his father in his memory. On the broken knife, fierce flames instantly appeared. It was a flame that was more brilliant and gentle than the breath of flames. Wall dance. The flames instantly dispersed the red silk prison that was about to shrink. Tanjiro rushed towards Yui in an instant. You can't stop, otherwise there will be sequelae of switching from the water-breathing method to the fire god Kagura. He must be killed immediately. You can't stop. His heart was filled with wishes to kill the ghost in front of him. What? Chirui was frightened by Tanjiro's explosion for a moment. He quickly retreated, and in the middle of the process, he used red silk to weave a twirl rope with his hands and released it towards Tanjiro. Vampire technique killing eye cage. But the red thread is as fragile as ordinary silk thread, and when it touches Tanjiro's flame, it is burned and cut off in an instant. A look of panic appeared on Lei's face. Just when he was about to make the next move, Tanjiro was already approaching Lei with a flaming broken knife. It's going to be successful. Tanjiro tightened his grip on the handle of the knife, and the remaining blade was about to slash at tired neck. Etc. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded to Tanjiro. Li Zan's figure suddenly appeared next to Tanjiro, grabbed his arm, and stopped Tanjiro from slashing. But even so, my tired head still started to fly. Why? Tanjiro was about to ask Li Zan what he meant when he saw a few silk threads tied to Lei Fei's head. He immediately understood that it would be useless even if he cut it down. But Li Zan has arrived, should. With trust in Li Zan, Tanjiro slowly fell down. The sequelae of the breathing method switch left him with no strength to move. Thanks for your hard work. Li Zan raised his feet to catch Tanjiro, said something casually, and then threw both Inosuke and Tanjiro to Miduzi, who had already recovered. In fact, Li Zan had arrived long ago, but did not take action. He knew that this plot was an important plot for Tanjiro's explosive seed to activate Kagura's breathing method, the god of fire, and it could not be cut off casually. So he didn't take action immediately, but secretly prepared to save Tanjiro if his life was really in danger. As for why he stopped Tanjiro's last strike, it was simply because Li Zan was tired of the vampire technique. Although in the original plot, Lei cut off his head in advance, so Tanjiro's knife did not hit him, but Li Zan cannot guarantee that everything is as described in the plot. After all, Lei did not react before being slashed and gave Tanjiro a few bloodshots. Differences from the original plot. Moreover, the power of Tanjiro's sword was indeed quite intimidating. Li Zan was afraid that he would kill him with this sword, so he blocked Tanjiro's sword in advance. Who are you? The thread shrank, and the tired head returned to his severed neck. Why did you block his knife? Lei sensed the aura of the person in front of him. He was indeed a human being. Furthermore, why did he have the aura of a ghost around his waist? It might be a bit disgraceful to say it. Li Zan didn't know how to answer. Do you mean to say that I am here for your vampire skills? Then go to hell. Tired face showed an angry look, and the panic of being almost hacked to death made him feel unhappy when he recalled it. Silk threads emerged from the fingertips again. But the next moment, Lei found that the person in front of him was missing. Back there, Li Zan patted Tired's shoulder from behind. Sign in. Sign in successfully. Acquire the 5 blood ghost techniques of Shishan. It can be used in the ghost state, and all the blood ghost techniques belonging to Tiu can be used. Li Zan felt a little surprised when he saw the prompt. When he signed into the Jade Pot, he was given the blood ghost skills one by one. Sometimes he could sign in some inexplicable and wonderful things. This time, he was tired of signing in, but good luck struck him, and he suddenly got everything. Hearing a voice from behind, his tired expression froze and he moved forward rapidly. What a fast speed! He couldn't help but feel surprised. His anger seemed to have been poured with cold water, and he suddenly calmed down. Now that it's rounded, I don't need you anymore. Just when Lei was about to turn around and attack the silk thread backwards, a cold voice suddenly came from the side. The breath of water, I don't know what type it is. Anyway, it's just a knife. Immediately afterwards, Lei heard the sound of the Nichiren sword being unsheathed in a sentence that was extremely insulting to the ghost. Then I felt like my consciousness fell into darkness. Seeing tiredness gradually turning into ashes, Li Zan couldn't help sighing in his heart about his bad luck. The vampire technique was all signed by me all of a sudden, and there was no need to keep Bao Yuan anymore. I originally wanted him to be a companion with Yuhu. Otherwise, Yuhu would feel lonely like this. Is your brother okay? Li Zan ignored the gradually dissipating tiredness and walked towards Nezuko. Yeah, Nezuko nodded cutely, biting her bamboo shackle. She had grown a lot bigger because she had to carry 2 men who were taller than her. Li Zan walked up to Nezuko, who was already a head taller than him, and said, "You can put them down." Nezuko was obedient and slowly placed the 2 injured people on the ground. Therefore, Li Zan also discovered that Tanjiro was still conscious, but could not move, and was now staring blankly at Tired that was dissipating into ashes. Ah, Tanjiro's daily post-war sentimental phase. Li Zan didn't say much. Although he didn't like the behavior of sympathizing with ghosts, he wouldn't bother him either. Suddenly, there was a swishing sound in the dense forest behind everyone. A figure is approaching quickly. The smell of Kocho Shinobu. Li Zan's nose curled up and he knew the identity of the person coming. Suddenly, an illusory sight of Kocho flying appeared before the eyes of the people and ghosts present, and both Tanjiro and Nezuko felt as if their heads were in a trance. But Li Zan was not affected in any way. Killing intent. Li Zan and Tanjiro smelled the smell at the same time. The figure approached, revealing the figure of Kocho Shinobu. She swung the unique Nichiren sword in her hand and slashed at Nezuko. Nezuko! Tanjiro only had time to shout in panic. Jung! Li Zan pulled out the Nichiren sword in an instant, swung the sword and collided with Kocho Shinobu's Nichiren sword, making a sound of gold and iron. Kocho Shinobu's attack was blocked. Her figure slowed down and flipped in midair, spinning to relieve the inertia and impact and landing gracefully. Mr. Li Zan. Kocho Shinobu resumed the name he used when we first met, with the gentle smile still on his face, but the words coming out of his cherry-colored lips had a questioning tone. Why do you want to hinder me, Protector Ghost? Quote. The guy behind you is a ghost. Don't tell me you don't know. You are violating team rules. The words were obviously spoken with a smile, but there was a chill in them. No, this is my sister, not a ghost. Ah. I can't say it's not. Tanjiro, who was lying on the ground, sat up with all his might. Try to argue. But Kocho Shinobu interrupted him with a smile on his face. Ah, it's your sister, it's so pitiful, so let me kill her with gentle poison that won't hurt. Kill her and help her get out. She gripped the Sunloon knife tightly, pointing the tip of the knife at Li Zan. Can you step aside for a moment? Mr. Li Zan. Me can't do it. Li Zan responded with a smile, as if he was imitating Kocho Shinobu. Seeing Li Zan's smile, Kocho Shinobu seemed to have a, character on his forehead, and his anger rose sharply. She dodged and swung the Nichiren sword again, aiming directly at Nezuko. Jung. There is still the sound of gold and iron clashing. Kocho Shinobu's Nichiren sword collided with Li Zan's Nichiren sword again. But at the next moment of the collision, Kocho Shinobu slid the Nichiren sword along the blade of Li Zan's Nichiren sword, trying to cross his sword and slash towards Nezuko. But her move was seen by Li Zan, who directly lifted his leg and whipped Kocho Shinobu on the waist. Suddenly, Kocho Shinobu's entire body was knocked out. After several flips in the air, he landed firmly. Her face was as dark as water, and even her smile stopped. Are you serious? Or, because you can become a ghost, you have to protect other ghosts. Can Li Zan become a ghost? Hearing this, Tanjiro and Nezuko on the side were both surprised, but with their trust in Li Zan, they did not speak and planned to ask again if they had the opportunity in the future. Anyway, you can't kill her as long as I'm here. Li Zan did not respond specifically, but made his intention clear. Really? Kocho Shinobu stood still, raised his Nichiren sword slightly, and said, it is against the team rules for Demon Slayer Corps members to attack each other, but it is against you to protect and prevent me from killing demons first. Demon Slayer Corps mission, so my attack will be justified. If you have the ability, just give it a try. More than a month of getting along can help me understand that I am not your opponent. Kocho Shinobu said with a cold face, so, I am ready. As she finished speaking, a girl with a single ponytail wearing a white cloak and a Demon Slayer Corps uniform walked out from behind her. The girl's face was expressionless and her eyes were dull, like a robot. This is the apprentice who received the teachings of Kocho Shinobu, and the stepson who will inherit her name in the future, Kanao, a 3-no girl. We may not be your opponent together, but I just need to contain you and let Kanao kill the ghost. Following Kocho Shinobu's words, Kanao also drew the Nichiren sword from his waist. Then give it a try. Li Zan still had the same indifferent attitude, and seemed to be absolutely sure that he could protect Tanjiro and Nezuko behind him. The two sides suddenly became tense, and sparks seemed to burst out of their eyes. Kocho Shinobu adheres to the belief of killing ghosts, and has an attitude of never giving in to Li Zan, who can transform into ghosts and has a selfish intention to protect ghosts. But Li Zan just followed his own ideas and stood on Tanjiro's side to prevent Nezuko from being killed. The wind in the forest rustled, causing the branches and leaves to sway. A dark shadow suddenly flew from the sky, bringing noisy sounds. Send the order! Send the order! It was a raven raised by the Demon Slayer Corps, speaking human language in a harsh voice. An order came from headquarters. Catch Tanjiro and Nezuko and bring them back to the headquarters. Capture Tanjiro and Nezuko, who is a ghost. Bring them back to the headquarters. After the crow finished speaking, another one continued. Tanjiro, wearing a checkered coat. There is a wound on the forehead. The ghost girl biting the bamboo. Nezuko. Bring it back. Bring it back. Kocho Shinobu frowned when he heard the crow's cry, but he still slowly put the Nichiren sword back into its scabbard, as did Li Zan, who was standing opposite. Kanao, put the knife away. Kocho Shinobu called to Kanao, who was still holding the sword. After receiving the instruction, Kanao nodded expressionlessly and put the knife back. Inosuke, are you okay? Tanjiro then had time to worry about Hashibira Inosuke, who was unconscious. He just fainted, but he was still seriously injured. Li Zan grabbed Inosuke and threw it towards Kocho Shinobu. He is from the Demon Slayer Corps. Please treat him a little. Kocho Shinobu frowned again, but still caught Inosuke and fed him some unknown drug. Inosuke's pale face turned a little rosy under his hood. Although he still didn't wake up, his condition was obviously much better. Then Inosuke was handed over to the Demon Slayer Corps, who came later to deal with the hidden troops afterwards and went to receive better treatment. Suddenly there was the sound of shuttles from the dense forest, and a man wearing a checkered and red half-patterned coat suddenly appeared in front of everyone. That's someone I've seen before. One of the 9 pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps, Mizuo, Tomioka Gyu. After his calm eyes glanced at Kocho Shinobu and Lee Zan, who had already sheathed their swords, he quietly lowered his arm on the Nichiren sword. "Era, it's Mr. Yiyang. You're late, and where is the master?" Kocho Shinobu looked at Gyu and smiled slightly. "The pillars have gradually gathered under the Lord's order." "Then why did my lord send you here?" Kocho Shinobu asked curiously. "Stop your conflict with him," Tomioka Yoshiyuki said. "Ah, he violated team rules." Kocho Shinobu turned his head and looked at Lee Zan with his purple eyes. "If Mr. Tomioka comes earlier, you can join me." Tomioka Jeyu's eyes moved to Lee Zan, and then to Tanjiro and Nezuko behind him. Then, with a serious look on his face, he interrupted Kocho Shinobu. "If I had come earlier, I would have violated team rules." "Huh," Kocho Shinobu responded with a confused look on his face, and the character, well, appeared again on his forehead. "Let's go, Kanao." Kocho Shinobu could no longer maintain his gentle smile and called Kanao to leave with him. After Kocho Shinobu left, Tomioka Gyu walked up to Lee Zan. Lee Zan looked at him steadily. "Breaking team rules will be very troublesome." Yiyang and Lee Zan looked at each other for a long time before they said this. "It's not a big problem," Lee Zan responded calmly. "Yes." Tomioka Gyu nodded slightly and walked towards Tanjiro and Nezuko. "Mr. Gyu." Tanjiro struggled to stand up with all his strength. "You did a good job and survived." Gyu praised Tanjiro. "Mr. Lintaki told me everything about you in the past 2 years, keep persevering, Tanjiro." He encouraged Tanjiro. "Yes, Mr. Yiyang. Tanjiro is indeed a passionate young boy. A few words can make his blood boil and his energy high." Although the injuries caused by this made him cough constantly, which seemed unworthy. "The injury is serious, leave it to Yin's people." Gyu Tomioka called Yin's members to come over and take Tanjiro for treatment. At the same time, he asked them to take Nezuko, who had hidden in a box because the sun was about to come out, to settle it. "Let's go, my lord has ordered you to return to the headquarters." Then, Yiyang said to Lee Zan. "Yeah," Lee Zan replied. In terms of seniority, Tomioka Gyu is still Lee Zan's senior brother, but the trainers basically don't care about this, so there is no need to deliberately respect him. What's more, it's impossible for Lee Zan to do this. The sun in the distance gradually climbed up, and the morning sun gradually filled the earth. Lee Zan and Yiyang set off for the headquarters at the same time. "It took longer to go back than when we came. Because the situation was urgent when we came, we ran as fast as we could, but there was no hard time requirement when we went back, so it was delayed a lot." But just like Lee Zan, Yiyang and Kocho Shinobu had already gone back before him. "Sign in." While on the way, Lee Zan took out Yuhu's head and slapped it on it. "Sign in successfully. Congratulations on obtaining the blood ghost technique of the 5 jade pots on the string. It can be used after becoming a ghost. You can move back and forth in the pot you made, or store items or creatures in the pot, or use the pot release technique. You will be able to use all the blood ghost techniques that originally belonged to UK. Why have you been so lucky these past 2 days?" The corners of Lee Zan's mouth were slightly raised, slightly happy. "Then do you want to keep this thing?" After the jade pot was squeezed dry, Lee Zan held his head and looked at it while thinking. "Or just kill him?" Feeling the dangerous gaze, Yuhu suddenly opened his eyes with his eyes closed. "You were sleeping well, why are you looking at me like that? Did I miss some plot point?" The jade pot expresses confusion. "Forget it, just keep it," Lee Zan thought. Later, it can also be used as a whetstone for winding those pillars. The price is to touch and sign for me. He felt that the jade pot could still squeeze a little more. The confused Yuhu had no idea that he had just passed through the gate of hell. The next moment, Lee Zan suddenly transformed into a ghost. He took out a small pot, stuffed the jade pot into it and ended his transformation instantly. The time is ridiculously short. For a moment, Yuhu felt terrified, and his whole head was squeezed. He thought he was going to the west and then suddenly entered a dark space. He could feel the aura of his vampire magic in this space, but he couldn't control it at all. After recovering his whole body and trying to break through many times to no avail, he could only stay in it quietly. This should prevent those pillars from smelling the smell, and you don't have to worry about running out. Li Zan wrapped the pot he had made just for this moment and tied it around his waist. The blood ghost technique of the jade pot is really easy to use. The inside of the pot forms a different space of its own. Things thrown in cannot come out unless they are strong enough, and the aura can also be concealed. It's really a good ability to have at home. It's not like I let this thing live in vain for so long. Li Zan then continued on his way. Soon he returned to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. Li Zan did not go back to Kocho House, nor did he go to Ubuyashiki immediately. Instead, he went to Purgatory Anjiro's residence. As soon as he stepped through the door, Purgatory, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, greeted him. Li Zan, Xingqiu Lang greeted energetically. Well, Mr. Purgatory, long time no see. Li Zan responded with a smile. Haha, it does take a long time. Purgatory Anjiro always looks full of energy. This mission took so long, did you encounter any trouble? Yes, but it has been solved. Purgatory Xingjulang said in a loud voice, and then he seemed to remember something, and said to Li Zan, I told you before that if we meet again, we will have a duel with all our strength. Ah, now, Li Zan felt that it would be better to complete the promise as soon as possible. Okay, Xingjulang responded loudly. However, as soon as he responded, a Yin team member ran over and said in a panic, Master Purgatory, my lord, please come to the mansion to meet. Hearing the words of the team members, Purgatory Anjiro nodded to show that he knew. He still said energetically, it seems that it can't be done now. Let's wait until the next meeting. That's a bit of a pity. See you next time. Li Zan shook his head slightly and turned to leave. Lord Li Zan, wait. The team member who was delivering the message hurriedly stopped Li Zan. My lord, please go to the mansion to see me. Okay, Li Zan nodded. In fact, he had originally planned to interfere in the upcoming Hashira meeting, so it was just right that he was summoned by Ubuyashiki. After all, he still needs to support Tanjiro. Then let's go together. Li Zan. Xingqiu Lang greeted Li Zan. Li Zan nodded slightly and followed Purgatory Xingjulang. By the way, doesn't it matter if you don't wear the team uniform? Anjiro suddenly asked halfway. It should be no problem, after all, the master didn't ask for it. Li Zan, who is used to not wearing team uniforms, shrugged and said. I think the team uniforms should be worn properly. Anjiro said seriously. Next time, I'll go back halfway before I get into trouble. Li Zan responded casually. Other pillars may have opinions. Purgatory Xingjulang did not force Li Zan to change the team uniform but reminded him. Well, no problem, Li Zan said. The two of them strolled leisurely to the Lord's mansion. As soon as they entered the courtyard, they found that there were many people waiting in the courtyard. The two of them seemed to be the last to arrive. It suddenly attracted the attention of everyone in the courtyard. Everyone has arrived first, Purgatory Anjiro said loudly and energetically. Mr. Purgatory, Kocho Shinobu greeted with a gentle smile. Purgatory is still as spiritually gorgeous as ever. A man with a strong build, slender white hair tied into a single ponytail, a flashing gemstone decoration on his forehead, radiating red makeup lines around his left eye, and a modified Demon Slayer Corps uniform with two bare arms. The man spoke with a proud look on his face. This man is none other than Tengen, one of the 9 pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps. Li Zan's impression of him was that of a gorgeous guy who used to be a ninja and now became a ghost-slaying swordsman. But when it comes to Yusui Tengen, the most unforgettable thing is that this guy had 3 wives. He survived to the end in the original plot and lived happily with his 3 wives. Purgatory, you are late. On the branch of a tree in the courtyard, there is a man with eyes of different colors, green on the left and gold on the right, with a bandage around his mouth and a white snake wrapped around his neck. He is wearing a black and white striped outer coat and a neat Demon Slayer Corps uniform underneath. The man lying down suddenly spoke, and his words contained a hint of blame. This man is one of the 9 pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps, Iguro Kobanai. Sorry, Purgatory Anjiro responded with a loud voice. Who is that? Yihei's sinister eyes moved to Li Zan, who was slightly behind Purgatory, your stepson. No, he is a swordsman from the Demon Slayer Corps. Purgatory replied. Yihei Xiaoba's heterochromatic pupils suddenly became as sharp as snakes, pointing at Li Zan and saying, "This is something only Zhu is qualified to participate in. Ordinary Demon Slayer Corps members cannot participate, and, as a swordsman of the Demon Slayer Corps, if you don't wear the team uniform and don't abide by the discipline, you need to be punished. Mr. Ihei is so strict. So handsome." Not far from the big tree, a girl with cherry-colored hair, green bangs and braided hair, light leaf green eyes, and a tear mole under both eyes looked at Yihei Xiaoba from a distance like a nympho, and thought in an inappropriate way. She was wearing a snow-white feather fabric. Under the feather fabric, there was an open-breasted team uniform and short skirt that had been modified by the Demon Slayer Corps tailor at her own discretion, making it appear somewhat revealing. Her legs were wrapped in a pair of green striped stockings. This girl is Kanroji Mitsuri, one of the 9 pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps. As soon as Iguro finished speaking, Kocho Shinobu covered his mouth slightly and smiled. "He is the team member I just mentioned." "Oh," Yusui Tengen shouted, "is he the Demon Slayer Corps member who violated team rules and confronted Kocho? Then he needs to be tried like this kid." Yihei pointed at Li Zan and kept waving his fingers, but his eyes turned to Tanjiro, who was tied up in the courtyard and was in a comatose state. Li Zan saw that Tanjiro's injuries had recovered somewhat, so he felt relieved. "Li Zan, are you violating team rules by harboring ghosts?" Purgatory Xingqiulang, who was beside Li Zan, seemed to have discovered a new world and asked Li Zan in high spirits. Li Zan nodded slightly. "Yeah. Then you need to accept the trial." Beheaded with the ghosts. Purgatory's expression has not changed at all, he is still as energetic. "You really don't hide it at all." Li Zan glanced at Purgatory Xingqiulang with lowered eyes. He was clearly talking and laughing so happily just now. "It's not allowed to harbor ghosts," Xingjiro added as if he felt a little embarrassed. "That's right, let me chop off the necks of both of them in a gorgeous way. I will make their blood splatter in all directions more gorgeous than anyone else, so gorgeous," Yusui Tengen said proudly with his head held high. "Ah, what 2 shabby children, they are so pitiful. The very fact of being born is pitiful enough." A tall man like a monk said sadly with tears. He was blind, with only the whites of his eyes, a very long scar on his forehead, a red Buddhist bead on his neck, and a brown coat with the 6 characters, Namo Amitabha, written on it. "This is the rock pillar, one of the 9 pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps. Let me kill you." Xing Ming clasped his hands together as he spoke, with a long chain of Buddhist beads hanging on it. His expression was filled with compassion and tears were flowing. "What is that cloud called?" An expressionless young man with long black hair, mint green tips and light blue eyes raised his head and murmured. "This boy is Kasumi Hashira Tokudaro Muichiro, one of the 9 pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps, a genius who became a pillar after holding a sword for just 2 months. But he is very strong," Kocho Shinobu said again. She seemed to be a little unhappy because of the previous confrontation, so she has been expressing her feelings now. "Kocho Shinobu is such a sinister woman. It doesn't matter if you are strong, harboring ghosts is an unacceptable thing. No matter how strong you are, you have to deal with it." Yihei Xiaoba's cold words came out from under the bandage. To be honest, he didn't think Li Zan could be that strong. He is not even a member of the team, and I have never heard of any famous news about Li Zan, a member of the team. "We should wait for your lord to make a decision." Gyu Tomioka, who was standing alone and far away from everyone, spoke at this time to help Li Zan and the others. "Don't bother your lord with this kind of matter, Wizu can make the decision." Iguro Kobanai immediately refuted Yi Yong's words. "Gloriously executed on the spot. Let the poor people escape from this world. But if this young man leads a ghost on a mission, my lord should know about it. If we make a decision without permission." Kanroji Muri looked at Tanjiro and asked something different, the opinion of. Suddenly, everyone was speechless and fell silent. "Then let's wait for your lord to make a decision," Purgatory Anjiro said. Each column also acquiesced in this decision. "However, he should come here and wait for trial like this kid." Yihei's sharp snake-like eyes shot at Li Zan. After all, they are also criminal team members. Tanjiro's situation at this time is obviously quite different from Li Zan's situation at this time. An unconscious person was tied up and thrown in the courtyard for everyone to watch. A person was standing in clean clothes. Except that he was not wearing a uniform, he was no different from a pillar. He even looked more like a pillar than a pillar with his elegant and dusty appearance. The difference is simply outrageous. Tie him up, Yihei instructed a hidden member who followed Tanjiro to the courtyard to tie up Lizan. I'm offended. The hidden member apologized and approached Lizan with a rope. I don't like being tied up, so let's forget it. This was the first time Lizan spoke since he came to the courtyard. He said to the hidden member with a polite smile. The hidden member suddenly hesitated, not knowing what to do. On the one hand, it was Lord Ju's order, and on the other hand, it was the words of a person who looked like he was no small role. If I step back, will I be beaten to death by Master Zu? But if I step forward, will I be hacked to death by that person? He didn't know what to do for a moment. Tisk! Yihei let out a low tut, and the figure lying on his side suddenly disappeared. The hidden member suddenly felt that the rope in his hand was empty and disappeared. It was Iguro who took away the rope. He suddenly appeared next to Lizan, holding a rope in his left hand and preparing to tie him up. He made a fist in his right hand and punched Lizan in the stomach, intending to give him something good to eat. From the time he entered the courtyard until now, Lizan's attitude has always made Yihei feel unhappy, as if he was ignoring others, being arrogant and not paying attention to anything. But in the next moment, Yihei found that neither his left hand nor his right hand could make the next move. Looking closely, it turned out that both hands were tightly clamped by the opponent's arms. Huge force came from the opponent's 5 fingers, making him unable to move. How come? Yihei was confused. Among the 9 pillars, although his wrist strength ranks second to last, only higher than Kocho Shinobu, it is not something that ordinary players can suppress. And the important thing is not strength, but speed. Just now, the other party could accurately grasp my speed. No need to tie it up, it will be uncomfortable. Lizan's indifferent eyes looked directly into Yihei's heterochromatic pupils. This guy. Yihei's pupils shrank, and he jumped up. His arms became as smooth as snakes, and he broke free from Lizan's grasp in an instant. He punched again with his right hand, turned around in midair and hit Lizan's face. But before the blow hit, Yihei felt as if he had lost control of his body, and the next moment he realized that his foot was caught by the opponent. Lizan grabbed Yihei's calf and swung it out. Yihei was thrown backwards and hit the tree where he was lying on his side just now. Ahem. This hit made Yihei's head dizzy and he kept coughing. But the next moment he adjusted his breathing and stood up with anger on his face. Mr. Iguro. Love Pillar Kanroji Mitsuri read with concern. Fine. Yihei's face was sullen, and his anger was rising. He has a crush on Kanroji Mitsuri, but now he is embarrassed in front of him, which makes him a little hard to accept. Yeah, I'd say he's very strong. Kocho Shinobu smiled gently at the side, not knowing what she was happy about. Lizan is indeed very strong. Purgatory Shingsholang nodded. At this moment, Tanjiro woke up. Miduzi, where are you? Lizan, Zenitsu, Inosuke, Mr. Murata. He yelled as soon as he woke up. Attracted everyone's attention. What's the situation? Tanjiro looked around with a confused expression at all the people who looked extremely powerful. Little guy, wake up. Kocho Shinobu walked over to Tanjiro. Tanjiro remembered this woman who wanted to kill her sister and asked anxiously, what's going on? Where is my sister? You violated the rules of the Demon Slayer Corps by carrying a ghost on a mission, so you need to accept the trial of each pillar. Kocho Shinobu patiently explained to Tanjiro, putting aside other factors, I still have a good impression of this young man. Where is my sister? Tanjiro was more concerned about his sister's safety. He was really afraid that his sister would be killed like this. If this is the case, he will definitely collapse, and even the only remaining family members will disappear. Your sister. Just as Kocho Shinobu was about to answer, Lizan's voice came over. As long as I'm here, it'll be okay. Lizan, Tanjiro said in surprise. It has to be said that in Tanjiro's heart, Lizan's words are obviously much heavier than other people's words. Such words made Tanjiro feel at ease. This is not only trust in Lizan, but also recognition of his strength. Although Lizan and he were taught by teacher Lintaki at the same time, Tanjiro knew that Lizan's strength was now completely different from his own. However, Tanjiro didn't feel jealous at all. Lizan's strong strength instead became the motivation for his efforts and constantly inspired him. Your tone is quite gorgeous. Yusui Tengen couldn't help but admired after hearing Lizan's words. Ah, arrogant. Yihei Xiaobanai patted the dust on his clothes and stared at Lizan with his eyes, like a poisonous snake ready to attack. He didn't immediately rush to save face for himself. Purgatory and Kochu's recognition of his strength just now, as well as the back and forth confrontation, had already made him judge that this guy definitely has the strength of the pillars, and in the courtyard, a real battle between the two pillars will definitely damage the place and affect the Lord. Grown-ups. So Yihei chose to endure it for the time being and not mention the kidnapping again. Wait for the Lord to make a decision and then gather the other pillars to take him down with thunderous force. Don't just believe what he says. He himself violated team rules, and he can't protect himself. Kocho Shinobu expressed dissatisfaction with Lizan for interrupting him in his arrogant words. Violating the team rules. Tanjiro was a little distracted for a moment. He knew that Lizan violated the team rules because of him, and he felt very sorry for having caused Lizan to be implicated. Kocho Shinobu then asked Tanjiro, Kamado Tanjiro, why do you, as a member of the Demon Slayer Corps, bring ghosts with you when performing missions? Regarding this matter, I want to hear your own explanation. Of course, this matter there is no doubt that this is against the rules of the Demon Slayer Corps, you should understand that, right? No need to ask at all. Yusui Tengen put his hands on the handles of the double swords behind his back, the Nichiren sword, and said disdainfully. Apparently he felt that the fact that he was carrying a ghost on a mission was enough to warrant the death penalty. It doesn't matter if you take your time. Please tell me. Kocho Shinobu leaned down and looked at Tanjiro. She really wanted to understand the reason why Tanjiro brought ghosts with him. Is it just because he is a family member that he is shielding him? Or is there some other reason? Forget about Lizan, even Mr. Yiyang would say something like, if I had come earlier, I would have violated the team rules. Fortunately, I didn't say it just now, otherwise even Mr. Yiyang would be criticized. That ghost is my sister. Tanjiro said, when I left home, my home was attacked. When I came back, everyone was dead. Although my sister turned into a ghost, she has not eaten anyone yet. Now she is, from now on, she will never hurt anyone. Tanjiro's expression and tone were very excited, and he expressed his most sincere thoughts. Don't talk nonsense, Iguro Xiaobanai said sarcastically with a stern face. His poor impression of Lizan had already made him have a bad impression of Tanjiro as well. After all, it's natural to protect your family. What you said, all words are untrustworthy. At least I won't believe them. Mingyu Xingming clasped his hands together, with a compassionate look on his face, tears streaming down his face, and said sadly, ah. He is possessed by a ghost, kill this poor child quickly and give him a get-free. Please listen to me. Seeing their attitude, Tanjiro said again. I became a swordsman in order to cure Miduzi. It was more than 2 years ago that Miduzi became a ghost. During this period, Miduzi has never eaten a human being. You keep spinning your words, idiot. Yusui Tengen said disdainfully, I have never eaten humans, and I will never eat humans in the future. Don't just use words to prove these things, show them in a gorgeous way. Tanjiro's serious explanation was obviously not understood by others. My sister can fight with me. She can fight as the Demon Slayer Corps. To protect humanity. So. Hey, it seems like something interesting happened. Teasing words suddenly came from a distance. Everyone turned to look and saw a man holding a wooden box. The man's hair is white, and he looks like a hedgehog. There are 3 long ferocious scars on his face. He wears a white haori with the word, kill, printed on the back. The Demon Slayer Corps uniform is open to reveal a chest full of scars. This is one of the remaining 9 pillars, the wind pillar Shinazugawa Sanemi. Is that the stupid team member with the ghost? He looked at Tanjiro and shouted. Miduzi. Tanjiro knew very well that his sister was in the wooden box held by Sania, and his heart was full of worry. Shinazugawa stared straight at Tanjiro and asked in a serious tone, what is the plan? This is very embarrassing for me. Shinazugawa-sama, please put down that box. A female, hidden, member followed Shinazugawa and said hurriedly. Kocho Shinobu, who was leaning over, slowly straightened up, his smile faded, and he said to Shinazugawa expressionlessly, "Mr. Shinazugawa, please do not act without authorization." But Shinazugawa ignored Kocho Shinobu and continued to talk to Tanjiro. "What the hell are you talking about? This little guy can serve as the Demon Slayer Corps, to fight to protect humanity. That kind of thing. How is that possible, idiot?" His tone gradually became louder, and in the end he even took out the Nichiren sword hanging from his waist with one hand and stabbed it towards the wooden box in his hand. "Miduzi!" Tanjiro shouted excitedly. "Ha!" Shinazugawa's expression was ferocious and excited, and his eyes were bloodshot. The next moment, Shia expected to see an angry expression on that idiot's face, but what he saw was a look of relief. With the weird expressions of everyone. Sania couldn't help but look towards the side where he was holding the box, only to see the missing Nichiren sword blade and the missing wooden box. What's going on? Shimi noticed that the eyes of the pillars were not on him, but behind him. Shinazugawa suddenly turned around. Then Sania saw a man carrying a wooden box looking at him indifferently. When he was shocked inside, so fast. In fact, it was not just him, other pillars also had this idea in their minds. This guy's speed is a little too fast. Iguro Kobanai finally knew why he had been defeated just now. The opponent was faster and stronger than him. What else could he have done if he had not been defeated? However, he didn't feel that he would lose in a real fight. After all, a real fight did not rely solely on strength and speed, unless the opponent was at a crushing level, and what Li Zan just showed was obviously not to that extent. "What are you up to?" Shinazugawa heard the other party's indifferent inquiry. Although the opponent's move just now surprised him, Shinazugawa still did not back down at all. "Are you the guy who covers up ghosts and violates team rules? What I'm asking is, what are you going to do?" Li Zan emphasized the question he just asked. "Of course I'm killing ghosts. Idiot." Shinazugawa held up the Nichiren sword and shouted arrogantly. In an instant, Li Zan pulled out the sun blade. In an instant, a deep blue sword light flashed in the eyes of everyone present. Clang! Li Zan's Nichiren sword struck the blade of Shinazugawa's Nichiren sword. The violent sound of gold and iron interacting seemed to deafen people's eardrums and crush people's consciousness. The power rolled up an invisible momentum and swept across the entire courtyard, even the cobblestones on the ground took off. The physical strength of Sakanji Hinataki, the physical strength of Infernal Anjiro, and the physical strength of Tomoko's second stage, the superimposed power. This is the purest power of the human state that Li Zan has reached so far. Shinazugawa's whole body was like a cannonball, flying backwards at high speed. Blood oozed from his mouth and nose in midair. It was like being hit in the chest by a sledgehammer. He smashed through the wooden corridor of the courtyard, smashed through the stone wall of the courtyard, and rolled a certain distance. Then he stopped under his control. "I'm going to kill you." Shinazugawa's face was dripping with blood. He inserted the Nichiren sword into the ground and supported his body to stand up, but he still felt sore and weak and could not stabilize his body. What a terrifying power. Tanjiro's treated jaw almost dropped again when he saw this scene. The pillars standing around all looked solemnly, staring at Li Zan's figure. Even if the speed was so fast just now, the power now is obviously a bit outrageous. They couldn't help but think about the consequences if they were hit by this knife just now. The final simulation results were basically similar to Shinazugawa's fate. Even Yenju Mingyu Xingming, who was the strongest among the 9 pillars and also had the strength to surpass the other pillars, couldn't help but marvel in his heart at the power displayed by the other party. Breath of Wind, Type 1, Gust Whirlwind, / Shinazugawa, who had completed his breathing adjustment and recovery, held the Nichiren sword tightly, with veins popping out in his hand, and walked towards Li Zan through the gap in the stone wall. "Shia, stop." Suddenly, a light and gentle voice came from inside the hall. Shinazugawa suddenly stopped walking. Everyone looked towards the open hall. First, 2 girls in kimonos with white hair and purple eyes walked out of the hall, and then the blind Kagaya Uyashiki, who was wearing a white robe, walked out. The 2 girls walked out slowly holding hands with Kagaya. "Good morning everyone, the weather is really nice today. The sky is very blue, I think. I am very happy to be able to hold the semi-annual Hashira meeting without changing the members." Ubuyashiki walked into the sunshine. Where it is reflected, feel the warm sun and speak peacefully. See my lord. Everyone in the courtyard except Lizan and Tanjiro knelt on one knee and recited the words in respect. It was the first time for Tanjiro to meet his lord, so he didn't know the rules, so naturally he didn't know how to kneel down, but his half-rising appearance was no different from kneeling down on one knee. But Lizan was different. He didn't intend to abide by this rule at all. He just bowed slightly to express his reluctant respect without even bending his knees. In front of a group of people who lowered their stature, they seemed to stand out. Although the pillars are a little angry with him in their hearts, it is hard to speak out even if the Lord doesn't speak. Welcome, my children. Kaguya looked very peaceful and loving at this time. I am very happy to see that your Lord is in good health, and I sincerely wish that your health will get better and better. Although there was still blood oozing from his mouth and nose, Shinazugawa still offered his caring greetings to Uyashiki immediately. Thank you, Sanya. Kaguya nodded slightly to express her gratitude. My lord, with all due respect, before starting the Hashira meeting, I would like to explain the team member named Kamado Tanjiro who is carrying the ghost, and punish the team member who harbored the ghost. What do you think? Quote. Shinazugawa went straight to the point and brought the matter to Tanjiro and Lizan. That's right. I'm sorry to disturb you. I recognize Tanjiro and Miduzi, and I hope everyone can also recognize them. As for Lizan, he should wear the team uniform properly. Ubuyashiki Kaguya said. Everyone present heard the meaning of the Lord's words. He admitted that there was no problem with Tanjiro taking Miduzi on the mission. He believed that Miduzi was a good ghost who did not eat people. He also eliminated Lizan's crime of harboring ghosts and blamed him for not wearing the team uniform properly. Urgent matters. Even if it is your lord's request, I find it difficult to agree with it. Weimingyu Xingming was the first to express his objection, clasping his hands together, and 2 lines of tears fell from his eyes again. I also express my disapproval. It is hard to agree with the members of the Demon Slayer Corps who are carrying ghosts, and the members who harbor ghosts should receive corresponding punishments. Yusu Tengen also expressed his opinion. I fully comply with your lord's expectations. Kanroji Mitsuri was the first pillar to agree. Her extreme respect for her lord made her unconditionally believe in his words. I don't care which way I go, I'll forget it right away anyway. Toru Muichiro said indifferently when Sanmu was a boy. Can't be trusted after all. Snake Pillar Ihei's eyes flickered back and forth between Lizan and Tanjiro. In the end, they are the most annoying ghost. A swordsman who carries a ghost or a swordsman who harbors a ghost is unacceptable. Quote. Even Purgatory Anjiro clearly expressed his opposition, saying in a sonorous tone, although I respect your lord from the bottom of my heart, I really can't understand this idea, and I fully oppose it. Destroying demons is the Demon Slayer Corps. I hope you can punish Kamado and Lizan. Shinazugawa's tone was serious and he begged sincerely. The Demon Slayer Corps has only one mission from ancient times to the present, and that is to kill demons. Almost all of the 9 pillars present had a blood feud with ghosts, and they had also seen living lives taken away by ghosts in front of their eyes, and families were broken up because of this, so they could not simply accept this kind of situation. Unreasonable things. Take out the letter, Kaguya said to her daughter. Yes, the girl responded, taking out a paper letter from the collar of her kimono, then unfolding it, and continued, this letter is from the Hara Hashira Sakanji-sama, and I will read it aloud. Part. Please allow Tanjiro to be with his sister who is a ghost. Yadozi relies on her strong mental power to still maintain her rationality as a human being. As the letter was read aloud, Tanjiro and Lizan couldn't help but recall the old and heavy voice of Rinataki Sakanji in their minds. Find an opportunity to go back and take a look. Lizan remembered that he had not gone back since he came to participate in the final selection, so he had the idea of going back to see Kintaki Sakanji. She did not eat anyone even though she was starving. She spent more than 2 years like that. Although it is hard to believe at once, it is a conclusive fact. If Yadoko attacks others, Kamado Tanjiro, and Nintaki Sakanji, Lizan, and Tomioka Gyu will all commit seppuku. As soon as the words fell, the courtyard seemed to fall into silence. Lizan was a little confused. Why did you take me with you? If something happens, I will have to commit seppuku. But after seeing Tanjiro's tearful eyes, which were filled with tears and moved back and forth between Yiyang and him, Li Zan felt a little embarrassed to say it. It's better not to hurt a kind-hearted young man's heart. However, Li Zan still knew that it was completely impossible for Miduzi to eat people, so it didn't matter. What does seppuku mean? If you want to die, just go ahead and die. It's not a guarantee at all. Shinazugawa spoke fiercely, and the bloodshot eyes that had disappeared gradually reappeared. Hey, what are you talking about? I don't want to die. Li Zan thought to the side with his face on his arm. Purgatory Anjiro also followed Shinazugawa's words and said, just like Shinazugawa said. If the ghost kills people and comes to eat them, it will be irreversible. Those who are killed will not come back. Indeed, Ubuyashiki Kagaya nodded in agreement. Then, Shinazugawa looked forward to his lord's response. Lord, the same goes for purgatory. There is no guarantee that she will not attack others, and there is no way to prove it. Ubuyashiki said slowly. At this point, he paused and then said, however, it cannot be proven that she will attack people. Miduzi has not eaten anyone for more than 2 years. This is a fact, and there are 4 people who have bet their lives for Miduzi. If you want to deny this, the party who denies it must also take some money. We have to produce something of higher value. Do you have the will to do that? Ubuyashiki's words were extremely heavy, as if they were falling into other people's hearts and lungs, directly hitting their souls. Shinazugawa and Purgatory were immediately speechless. Also, there is one more thing I want to tell my swordsmen, that is, both Tanjiro and Li Zan have encountered Kibutsuji. Hearing this sentence, for a moment, the pillars who were kneeling on one knee looked at Tanjiro and Li Zan in shock. How could it be possible? No one has even touched Zu. Yusui Tengen said in shock. His eyes kept wandering back and forth between Tanjiro and Li Zan, these 2 guys actually. My lord, you are right. I have indeed seen Kibutsuji. Li Zan responded with a smile. Kibutsuji, what does he look like? What is his ability? Shinazugawa suddenly came to Tanjiro, grabbed his collar and shook him and asked. Tanjiro was shaken so hard that his head was dizzy and he couldn't say a word. Mr. Shinazugawa, he is still injured, please don't do this. Kocho Shinobu reminded Shinazugawa that she had already seen the short-term confrontation between Li Zan and Muzan, and had seen Muzan's appearance and attack method, so she did not nod in a hurry. Where have you seen this? Hey, answer me quickly, Shinazugawa continued to ask while shaking Tanjiro. In Asakusa, Kyoto, Li Zan saw that half of Tanjiro's life might be lost if he was shaken down again, so he spoke. Kyoto Asakusa. Shinazugawa wiped the blood on his face and repeated Li Zan's words. Muichiro Tokuduru, who was on the side, was obviously very concerned about Kibutsuji. He looked at Li Zan with indifferent eyes and asked, have you ever fought? Yeah, Li Zan nodded. He didn't see anything wrong with answering these questions. Li Zan knew in his heart that killing Kibutsuji Wuhan meant that the ghosts would disappear forever, and no one would suffer, grieve or die because of the ghosts. Only then could the fate and mission of the Demon Slayer Corps be ended. Every pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps would be so anxious. What was the outcome of the battle? How strong was Kibutsuji? What is he doing? Find out his lair. Shut up. I asked first. Kibutsuji's ability first. You should shut up. Kibutsuji's purpose is what matters. It might be okay not to answer, but as soon as he answered a series of questions, he would not stop asking until the end of the casserole, and even got into a small quarrel because of it. Suddenly, the Lord put a finger in front of his mouth to signal silence. The next moment, the noisy scene suddenly became quiet. Kibutsuji is sending people to hunt down Tanjiro. Although his reason may simply be to silence him, this is the first time I have caught Kibutsuji's exposed tail and don't want to let go. I'm afraid that with Yadozi, something happened that Kibutsuji didn't expect, can you understand? Uyashiki spoke gently, hoping to make the pillars understand and recognize the existence of Tanjiro and Miduzi. I don't understand, my lord. Shinazugawa Sania's body trembled, as if he was holding back a ball of fire. It would be okay if we let Tanjiro and Li Zan, who know the information about Kibutsuji, go, but not a ghost, absolutely not. So far, our Demon Slayer Corps has fought with so much faith. How many people have sacrificed for this? You know it, my lord. Therefore, I absolutely cannot agree. Shinazugawa could even let go of Lizan, who had just wounded him, but he couldn't tolerate the existence of Miduzi at all. All the experiences from the past to the present have completely convinced Shinazugawa that ghosts are vicious creatures that eat people. They must be killed. Suddenly, Shinazugawa took out the dark green Nichiren sword from his waist and slashed it on his hand. The scarred arm suddenly opened a gash, and blood continued to flow down, staining the ground of the courtyard red. His constitution is the thinnest of thin blood, which is a great tonic for ghosts. No ghost will tolerate the desire for his blood. My lord, I am here to prove the ugliness of ghosts, Shinazugawa said resolutely. Ubuyashiki knew what he was going to do based on his voice. After all, Utsuyashiki knew his physique very well. Shinazugawa plans to use his own blood to test whether Mizuko's desire for people is really not eating people, as Tanjiro and Nintaki Sakanji said. Because the wooden box where Miduzi was located had long been taken away by Lizan and placed at Lizan's feet, Shinazugawa walked towards Lizan. But Lizan took the first step and blocked the wooden box. Get out of the way, Shinazugawa said to Lizan with a ferocious expression. He was holding the Nichiren sword and his other arm was still bleeding with blood. He was already restraining himself from the urge to slash the opponent with the Nichiren sword. He harbors ghosts and hinders his own actions time and time again. No, Lizan's refusal was always so crisp. Get out of the way. Shinazugawa raised his voice and repeated his words. My lord. Lizan looked at Ubuyashiki. Uyashiki heard Lizan's voice and was confused. Ubuyashiki was a little worried when he heard the sound of their confrontation just now. He was about to stop it, but he didn't expect that Lizan suddenly called him. If he wants to prove it, I should be able to do it too. After hearing this, Uyashiki instantly understood what Lizan meant, pondered for a moment, and responded, okay. Kocho Shinobu, who was about to witness Shinazugawa's testimony, also realized what Lizan was going to do, and his expression became extremely nervous. Since Shinazugawa's constitution is the thinnest of thin blood, no ghost can resist his desire. If the ghost transformed by Lizan does not accept the temptation, it means that there is indeed a ghost that cannot eat people. In addition, the fact that Miduzi has not eaten people for more than 2 years can also confirm to a certain extent that Miduzi is not a human being. Cannibal. For Tanjiro, it can save his sister from suffering. For Miduzi, there is no need to be a guinea pig for experiments in public. For Uyashiki and Kocho Shinobu, it can allow them to see whether Lizan's previous statement of, not interested in people and not eating people, is true or false. For Jonju, it can also make them believe that there is ghosts that don't eat people exist. It was a happy event for everyone present. What about Lizan? That naturally has his purpose. After all, the matter of ghost transformation will definitely be exposed in the future. Rather than being secretive, it is better to express it openly and openly. Moreover, Uyashiki and Kocho Shinobu also know that they can transform into ghosts, so these people are not missing. It will be much easier to express it all at once while everyone is still there, so as not to waste more words later. Another part of the reason is that Lizan is greedy for Tanjiro's fire god Kagura. Although he can take it without asking, Lizan still thinks of Tanjiro, who is the only friend in this world, and wants to repay him if he can. And it can be regarded as a reward for using Tanjiro in the past. Ghost transformation. The words fell in Lizan's heart. Prove. What do you want to prove? Don't block my way, Shinazugawa shouted to Lizan impatiently. But in the next moment, his mind trembled, and he instinctively used breathing techniques to stop the bleeding wound, and adjusted himself to the best state for the battle. The veins in the arm holding the Nichiren knife bulged, and his breathing became heavier. The eyes that looked at Lizan seemed to see something incredible. His bloodshot eyes swelled and his pupils shrank suddenly. Everyone present was originally watching Shinazugawa's behavior, but the next moment they suddenly felt their spirits tremble, their hairs stood on end, and they felt a thrilling and dangerous feeling in their hearts of being targeted by a bloodthirsty beast. Each pillar unconsciously placed his arm on the handle of the Nichiren sword. This was not an act caused by subjective consciousness at all, but an act prompted by instinct. Because it seems that only with the weapon in hand can I feel a sense of security deep in my heart. Each of them looked nervous, frowning, and cold sweat kept oozing from their foreheads. They adjusted their breathing heavily, just like Shinazugawa, adjusting their bodies to the best state for the challenge. Because they felt the ghost's aura, and the aura was getting worse. Moreover, the auras of all the ghosts I had seen before were incomparable to the auras that suddenly emitted in front of me now, as if one was in the sky and the other was on the ground. The owner of that aura is like a collection of all the unknown and weird things in the world. The moment the aura invades, it makes people feel disgusted and nauseated. Wei Mingyu Xingmei came to Ubuyashiki at the first time, using his body as a shield to protect Ubuyashiki. The other pillars straightened up and kept ready to draw their swords at any time, and all looked at the place where the aura was coming from. What they saw was Li Zan, who was undergoing some kind of change. What happened? Yusui Tengen looked at the changing Li Zan uneasily and said in surprise, "He is a ghost." Yusui Tengen was so surprised at this time that even the word, gorgeous, that he often talked about was missing. "I didn't even feel a breath before," Kanroji Mitsuri said loudly. "Ghost." Yihei Xiaoban stared at the changing Li Zan and uttered a word bitterly. Compared with them, the most suspicious ones are Purgatory Anjiro and Tomioka Gyu. Purgatory has been sparring with Li Zan for more than a month, and has been getting along with him for more than a month, but he has not noticed the identity of the other party's ghost at all, and the other party has not been exposed at all, but why is his identity suddenly exposed now? What does that MIDZ mean to him? What does it mean to say? Purgatory Xingqiulang frowned, puzzled. He looked directly at Li Zan and uttered doubtful words, "Are you a ghost?" "Why? Although I don't understand, Purgatory's fighting spirit is still high. It's a ghost, just kill it." Yiyang, on the other hand, remained silent and looked at the changing Li Zan with sharp eyes. The sun blade had been slightly unsheathed. Yadozi maintained his humanity before his own eyes and spent 2 years under the watchful eye of Mr. Lintaki, but Li Zan, he didn't know why he had to hide it for so long if he was a ghost. Yiyang didn't want to think deeply, but he thought that, at least, if the other party really had bad intentions, he would definitely kill him with his own hands as soon as possible. Li Zan. Kocho Shinobu looked at Li Zan with complicated eyes. She knew that the other party could turn into a ghost, but the figure and aura she saw through the screen were completely different from what she saw and felt in reality. Why don't people think of the gloomy and terrifying ghost aura on the other person as an evil ghost? "Do it, Shinazugawa," Iguro suddenly shouted loudly, while he is still changing. The breath of wind, the shape of Ju, Wei Tuoshan Typhoon. Before Iguro said the last part of his sentence, Shinazugawa was already preparing to wave the Nichiren sword in his hand, using the breathing method to the maximum extent, mobilizing the maximum strength of his limbs, in order to unleash the most powerful killing move. But the next moment, Shinazugawa found that his sword was unable to fall in midair. No matter how hard he tried, it was useless. "Why, can't swing?" he shouted angrily. The breath of a snake, the shape of sea, the long and winding snake. Yihei's figure suddenly appeared behind Li Zan after he charged in, and the purple snake-shaped double-edged Nichiren sword slashed straight at Li Zan in a winding path. But his Nichiren sword, like Shinazugawa's Nichiren sword, suddenly stopped in midair, and no matter how hard he tried, he could not slash it. What's going on? Iguro was even more puzzled than Shinazugawa. He obviously attacked from behind, but why? But the next moment, Yihei suddenly saw a gloomy and evil eye emerging from the upturned flesh and blood on Li Zan's neck, staring directly at him. Isn't this what it is? He thought. Between the two attacks, Li Zan's change finally came to an end. Compared with the previous ghost transformation, there seems to be a new change now. The long black hair extended to the waist, and there was a faint fire burning in the abyss-like pupils under the bangs. There was also an inexplicable figure wailing in pain in the fire. If Li Zan could see his own eyes, he would definitely be able to clearly recognize that figure as the jade pot. The long and narrow bright red stripes on his cheeks became even brighter and more eerie. Cold and evil eyes emerged from the flesh on the neck, 2 of which were looking directly at Shinazugawa and Iguro. The other eyes kept wandering around in the flesh and blood of the neck, seeming to be looking for something to spy on. "Don't be afraid." Li Zan's ghostly voice no longer seemed hoarse, but had a strange sense of emptiness. The emptiness is so quiet that it seems to penetrate the human soul. He wanted to appease everyone. But his words obviously did not make others relax their vigilance. Shinazugawa, Aihei. Seeing Shinazugawa and Aihei standing still in front of Li Zan, Tengen Uzui was worried about their danger and shouted anxiously. He pulled out the double-sword Nichiren sword from the sheath, and moved his breathing method towards Li Zan. Zan rushed away in a hurry. Although sometimes they speak inappropriately, Zhu still cares about each other very much. After all, we have been like-minded partners for a long time. Purgatory, Yi Yang and others followed immediately. Only Kocho Shinobu hesitated in place and made no move. She heard Li Zan's words and understood what he meant. Even though his body still felt uncomfortable because of Li Zan's aura, he had restrained himself. Stop, Kaguya said loudly, her voice no longer gentle, ahem. Such loud shouting seemed to affect Ubuyashiki's condition, causing him to cough violently. The two daughters beside him quickly helped their father. But even if Uyashiki shouted so loudly, his shouts were still drowned in the sounds carried by various breathing techniques and various slashes, and had no effect at all. My lord, Mingyu Xingming said worriedly. Although he is also blind, he can clearly feel everything around him. Also know what happened. Mingyu Xingming originally wanted to rush forward, but he was serving as the Lord's bodyguard at this time, so he gave up his mind. Quick, quick, Xingming, make them stop. Ubuyashiki's body was shaking a little, obviously he was greatly stimulated. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.